Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. I'm in one piece, almost exposed that I am better than Roger. Chapter 81. It's me. Su Luo and Chopper face each other, the corners of their mouths rise, and a smile appears. In the next second, Su Luo raised his leg to aim at Chopper's belly and kicked, and at the same time he couldn't help but sigh. Chopper's belief is strong, although he had been merciful with the cut just now, but if he changed to CP9, except for Lucky and Kaku's other people, I am afraid that it has completely fallen down at this time. And Chopper not only stood up again from the ground, but also launched an offensive against himself at a surprisingly fast speed. Oops. Upon seeing this, Chopper screamed, his eyes condensed slightly, and he watched Su Luo kick it. However, after sensing the danger, Chopper wanted to retreat, but it was too late. Su Luo's speed is above him. Boom. There was a loud noise in Chopper's ears. The abdomen seemed to have received a heavy blow. The majestic power poured into his body, causing him to spout a mouthful of blood on the spot. Immediately afterwards, Chopper's feet slowly left the ground, forming a big C-shaped body, and flew out backwards. Even if he tried his best, Chopper couldn't change anything. His body drew a parabola in the air, and his back fell heavily to the ground. Rumble. The ground cracked. Chopper's body bounced up, then hit the ground again. Over and over again. In the end, it was able to stop after several consecutive tumbling. The bones on his body seemed to be all broken, lying on the ground staggeringly. Chopper. Nami watched Chopper fly upside down 8 feet away, stunned. When Chopper rushed to Su Luo, Nami was still dreaming about his attack, his efforts. How much can have some effect? Result. The power gap between the two parties is too huge. All the efforts that led to Chopper. It's not important at all. Even at this moment, Nami couldn't care about his safety. She quickly opened her legs and ran towards Chopper. And Chopper's body size was also minimized, lying on the ground dying, covered with scars, the corners of his mouth and chest were full of blood. His eyes looked a little dull. Chopper, Chopper. Nami knelt beside Chopper with a plop, tears streaming down her eyes. Not only does he feel sorry for Chopper, but he is very worried about his safety. And Robin, who witnessed this scene, couldn't help but feel moved again. For a long time, she has met many people, let alone life and death, once there is a conflict of interest. These people will betray themselves without hesitation. But these weak pirates, even between life and death, you must resolutely guard your companions. Su Luo. Seeing this, Robin couldn't help but speak. I hope that Su Luo will not go to war here. Don't underestimate these guys. Each of them has a monster-like body. It's not that easy to die. Su Luo couldn't help but complain. Not only are these guys not that easy to die, the resilience is also terrifying. Su Luo vaguely remembered, no matter how badly Straw Hat Crew was injured, one night's rest can be better. It can't be described by common sense. Moreover, although Su Luo is Marine, he does not hate Straw Hat Crew. They say they are pirates, but they rarely do evil. At most it is to rob someone else's treasure. Even Straw Hat Crew also saved many countries. Plus Luffy is again Garp's grandson. He also needs to operate factions, stay away from Marineford and return to East Blue. These people are still more valuable alive. Of course, a severely injured state is always easier to control than alive and kicking. So, facing the only remaining Nami, Su Luo slowly raised the knife, preparing to feint her. However, just as the samurai sword was about to fall, a black shadow suddenly emerged from the side. Blocked Nami behind him, a black suit with short yellow hair and a white cigarette in his mouth. No one else, but the main force of the Straw Hat Pirates. Blackfoot, Sanji. When Nami left the ship, Sanji was worried about whether she would be in danger. So it is also a step ahead and rushed here. Hello, you are too much, Marine. Sanji said displeased ly. Only then did I notice that Chopper, Usopp, had been defeated by the Marine in front of him. The injuries were extremely serious. It is not difficult to see that fighting has broken out between the two sides. And Chopper and Usopp are not opponents at all. But considering that they are not very strong, losing to Marine is not a big surprise. It's just that Sanji is more fortunate. I appeared in a timely manner. Otherwise, if Miss Nami was seriously injured, he would never forgive himself. Don't worry, Miss Nami, I will protect you no matter what happens. As soon as his voice fell, Sanji noticed Robin on the side. The eyes are shining, but soon, Sanji withdrew his gaze. Now, it's not the time to appreciate beautiful women. He must be here to guard his companions. And on the other side, seeing Sanji appearing in time, Nami's heart suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. Chopper, Sanji is here, we can be saved. For a moment, Nami cried with joy and quickly told Chopper the news. Mountain, Sanji, Chopper's voice is very weak. He wanted to open his eyes and look at Sanji, but he couldn't. Blackfoot Sanji. Su Luo fixed his eyes slightly, looking directly at the person who came. His bounty at this time is not high enough. Su Luo did not remember exactly how much it was. But on strength, today's Sanji is definitely better than Chopper and Usopp. One of the three great forces of the Straw Hat Pirates. Su Luo slowly lowered his samurai sword. It seems that you are the only one, what about the others? In my impression, Sanji should act with Luffy and others. However, Sanji did not answer any questions from Su Luo. He is not in a hurry to do it. Instead, he took a deep breath of cigarette, and then slowly exhaled the smoke ring. The tone was slightly questioning. So, is it you that made my beloved Miss Nami cry? For Chopper and Usopp, Sanji didn't mention a word. It seems that I haven't seen it. But in fact, Sanji's heart is angry because of his companion being injured. Don't say there is only one marine, Su Luo. Just come to a marine unit. He will not let it go. As for why marine appears here, Sanji didn't care. He only knows. The guy who hurt his companion. The man who shot at the woman. Must kick him flying. This is not only a gentleman, but also the consciousness that a man should have. Go ahead, Marine, how do you want to die? Sanji made a loud noise without flinching. Atmosphere, tensions, Sanji, it's Sanji. In desperate circumstances, Sanji's timely appearance was undoubtedly a shot in the arm. Nami, who was facing despair, eased a lot. It is no exaggeration to say that Sanji today is the greatest hope in Nami's heart. If it were Sanji, I would be able to deal with this marine. Nami clenched his fists in both hands, thinking to himself. So far, Sanji has defeated one strong enemy after another. But, to be safe, Nami quickly emphasized to Sanji. Sanji, you have to be careful, the strength of this marine in front of you is very strong, you must not be careless. I know. After hearing the words, Sanji glanced back at Nami, then took a puff of cigarette and slowly exhaled the smoke ring. Actually, even without Nami's reminder, Sanji was very clear in his heart. The strength of this marine is terrifying. Otherwise, Chopper and Usopp would not hurt so much. Although they are not combatants on board. But the strength he possesses is far stronger than many pirates. Don't worry, Miss Nami, I'm a hunter. Sanji said so, trying to reassure Nami. Then he turned around and faced Su Luo directly. Although that is the case, this marine. It's really trickier than I thought. Sanji thought to himself, his eyes became very serious. He could feel the powerful aura emanating from Su Luo's body. A sense of oppression was overwhelmingly rolling over to myself. The marine in front of him is almost the strongest enemy he has ever encountered in his lifetime. This is also true, Sanji's anger caused by Chopper and Usopp's serious injuries. At this moment, he calmed down a lot. Once dazzled by anger, there is only one end for himself. That would be defeated by the opponent. For a while, the atmosphere became depressed. Sanji stared at Su Luo, his hands dropped naturally, and then clenched his fists. He already ready to fight to the death. Even if you know you don't have to. Because Luffy and others are behind. As long as they delay until they arrive, they will definitely be able to deal with this marine. But, although you are strong, but if I hurt my companion, I won't let you go. Sanji screamed and kicked hard on his toes. The whole person was like a swift black panther, rushing out from the spot on the spot, and went straight to Su Luo. It hurts Chopper and Usopp not to talk. Even more to the beautiful Miss Nami. Unforgivable. In an instant, Sanji appeared in front of Su Luo. The speed was so fast that Robin on the side showed a surprised expression. Okay, so fast. The speed of this guy is not inferior to the secret agent of CP9. In Robin's view, even the masters, all 6 agents, are as fast as Sanji. Even at the moment he started his action, he couldn't even catch his weird actions. This man is stronger than himself. Robin made a judgment when he couldn't breathe. On the other hand, Su Luo still stood on the spot, facing the angry Sanji. It's so strong. Su Luo couldn't help but sigh. Sanji's aura, like an air current, crushed towards him. It's better than Chopper and Usopp. Shoulder. With a loud shout, Sanji made a decisive move. He raised his right leg above his head, aimed at Su Luo's shoulder, and then fell sharply. Attempt to knock Su Luo directly to the ground. This kick not only carried his anger, it also bears his determination as a gentleman. A horrible air current was generated, and it forced towards Su Luo with Sanji's heels. This scene fell into the eyes of Nami and Robin at the same time. The eyes of the former became excited. Definitely be able to defeat the opponent. That's Sanji, Nami thought to himself. If it's Sanji, it will be successful. Come on, Sanji. The dying Chopper cheered for Sanji. At this moment, Sanji is their hope. And both he and Nami believed very much in their hearts. Sanji can beat this marine. Good physical skills. It was Robin Rao. His eyes widened at this time. However, just when Sanji's heel was less than 10 centimeters away from Su Luo, who was standing in front of him, suddenly disappeared. Only an afterimage was left. The speed is far beyond Sanji's cognition. He didn't even see how Su Luo moved. It disappeared. Sanji rolled his throat and swallowed nervously. Because of the fall of his right leg, he had no time to make the next move. Can't dodge. There is no defense. Oops. Sanji, behind you. Seeing this, Nami in the back quickly exclaimed, wanting to remind Sanji. Su Luo flashed behind him with superb moving speed. But, even with this recognition, Sanji's body can't do anything. At best, he used the corner of his eye to look behind him as best he could. I saw Su Luo appearing behind me. His brain seemed to be hit by a hammer, buzzing, and his thinking became blank. He dodges his attack in an instant, and ran behind him. What an exaggerated speed, although I don't want to admit it, but there is indeed too much difference in the strength between the two sides. This marine can't be dealt with by himself. Su Luo raised his right leg, aimed at Sanji's waist, and swept out directly. The action is clean and neat. The speed is swift and violent. Kicked Sanji. Boom. The majestic power burst out, bending Sanji's body on the spot. Even his facial features were twisted together because of this blow, grinning. The cigarette falls. The unprecedented pain spread all over Sanji's body. The heart-wrenching pain made him wonder if his bones were broken by himself. Why is this guy's power so terrifying? Soon, the terrifying power made Sanji unable to grasp the ground with his feet, slowly rising. Then, his body was like a kite with a broken string, flying upside down from the same place. Draw a beautiful arc in the air, and then fell heavily to the ground. Pouch. The force of horror almost shattered his 5 internal organs and 6 lungs, causing him to spew out a large mouthful of blood. The injuries on his body made Sanji unable to stand up for a while. In this way, Nami and Chopper regarded Sanji as hope. Su Luo directly took a second. With just one kick, Sanji was killed in seconds. Mountain. Sanji. Nami's eyes stared like bull's eyes, and his mouth opened into an O shape. She never dreamed of it. That powerful Sanji. It turns out, it's just a second. How terrifying is the strength of this marine monster. Nami took a breath and regarded Su Luo as a real monster. This scene had a great impact on Nami. Far more than the shock when Chopper and Usopp were defeated. In any case, neither of them were combatants on board. It is normal to fail to beat Su Luo. But Sanji is the main force on the ship. The scene suddenly became silent. Nami blinked vigorously, seriously wondering if he had hallucinations. Otherwise, how could I see that Sanji was killed by Su Luo in a second? Sanji. For a moment, the light from Nami's eyes dimmed for an instant. Su Luo's kick not only kicked Sanji away, it directly kicked the hope that Nami had finally ignited. What happened? Chopper sat up from the ground hard, his eyes full of horror. Just now, Sanji appeared on the stage in an extremely handsome manner, which gave them hope for a while. But who knows, half a minute is not up. The cruel reality gave them a merciless slap. Rao is Sanji, and in front of the monster Su Luo, there is no power to resist at all. Directly killed by a spike. Just kidding. Chopper rolled his throat, his eyes filled with incredible expressions. Now, it's really over. I thought Sanji would be their savior. In a blink of an eye, not only did Sanji fail to do it, but instead put himself in. It's over, this time is completely over. Nami directly slumped to the ground. Although Luffy and Zoro are also very strong, they are definitely not crushed compared to Sanji. Yes, whether it is Luffy or Zoro, it's impossible to kill Sanji in a flash. From this comparison, it is enough to prove Su Luo's strength is stronger than anyone in the Straw Hat Pirates. And much more powerful. It hurts. Sanji, who fell to the ground, kept sucking in the air conditioning, pressing one hand on the spot where Su Luo kicked him. The whole body hurts all over. If it weren't for worrying about Nami's safety, the kick just now would definitely knock him out. Strength, how could it be so much worse? Sanji gritted his teeth and couldn't believe it. In this sea, one's own strength is by no means weak. But in front of Su Luo, that kind of powerlessness, that kind of oppression, there is so much difference in strength. Own, not his opponent. Do not. Sanji shook his head, relying on a powerful mind, barely got up from the ground. It's not just that there is a huge gap between the strengths of himself and Su Luo. Luffy, Zoro, it would never be the opponent of this guy. Careless. Everyone should act together. Yes, if I didn't lead the attack, but waited for Luffy and the others to arrive, and then deal with this marine together. There is definitely a chance. Sanji couldn't help feeling regretful. He thought he was not dazzled by anger. But now it seems that he is still affected. Has always belonged to the resourceful general's own. I chose the worst decision. But now although I am injured, I haven't completely lost my combat effectiveness. I can still fight. Thinking of this, Sanji glanced at Nami. For the beautiful Miss Nami. I am fighting this life today. Never let Marine hurt her. At the same time, Chopper also seemed to have made up his mind. Knowing that Su Luo is a monster. It is the strongest enemy they have ever encountered. But he still got up from the ground resolutely and healed the wound for himself. This is the resilience of the Straw Hat Pirates. Face powerful enemies, can be afraid, can be desperate. But they will never give up easily. Even more will not abandon your companions. As long as there is a breath, they will face the enemy firmly. The man who just came out is definitely not weak. Robin couldn't help sighing when he observed this scene. Both the speed of movement and the power to attack Su Luo are excellent. In the first half of the Grand Line, he was definitely one of the best. As his companions, these people should be more aware of his strength. Obviously, in front of Su Luo, there is only one shot that can be killed in a second. Why should I stand up? It's impossible to win a battle at all. Robin couldn't help being dumbfounded. Compared with those who betray themselves at every turn. The emotions and fetters of these people makes her difficult to understand. Even Usopp, who was killed by Su Luo with a hand knife, regained consciousness at this time. I heard it. I heard the voice of my companion. As a sniper, how can I sleep here? Usopp pressed his hands on the ground, supporting his body to get up. Every time he moved, he could feel his joints creaking. Pain swept through, spread all over his body. But even so, Usopp tried to stand up straight, raised the large slingshot, and aimed at Su Luo. Everyone, seeing Chopper and Usopp working so hard, Nami was also stunned on the spot. Then, she raised her arm and wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. Yes, everyone has worked so hard. What reason do you have to sit here and cry? Perhaps Su Luo's personal strength is stronger than Sanji. But they are not alone. I want to fight too. I want to beat you here, Marine. Then go to sea with everyone. Nami shouted, then took out the weather stick. She wants to fight with her partner. Su Luo looked at the Straw Hat crew in front of him, although he was seriously injured, but his eyes were firm. There is no backlash and timidity. Really worthy of being Luffy's crew. Knowing that there is a huge difference in strength between us, we still want to continue fighting. For the sake of your hard work. Just give you a chance. Su Luo's voice was low and he didn't rush to move his hands. I am the only marine in the entire magic triangle. There will be no encirclement or trap. Having said that, Su Luo simply sat cross-legged on the ground. Call your companions. As soon as this remark came out, it caused an uproar. I thought that Su Luo would take this opportunity to solve them first, and then wait for Luffy to come here. Did not expect. He actually wants to directly face the entire Straw Hat Pirates. However, for the current Sanji et al., this is undoubtedly great news. Not only did they get a chance to breathe, but they could also use this time to let Chopper help them simply deal with their injuries. This will definitely be the worst choice you have made in this life. Maybe one-on-one, none of us are your opponents. But as long as everyone is assembled, we will never lose. Sanji clenched his fists with both hands. So sure in my heart. He firmly believes that as long as we unite everyone's strength, you will be able to defeat the marine in front of you. After Su Luo said, he really sat there, waiting patiently for the others in the Straw Hat Pirates, so as to catch them all at once. And Sanji and others got a chance to breathe at this moment. Chopper took the initiative to deal with wounds for everyone. Ready to fight. They are very clear in their hearts. Next is the key. However, in Robin's view, although the friendship of the Straw Hat Pirates is deep, she moved and envied her a little. But on strength, the two sides are undoubtedly far apart. Not to mention a pirate group with a bounty of less than 100 million. It is Crocodile, one of 7 warlords of the sea, and the CP9 organization directly under the world government. In front of Su Luo, there was only a disastrous ending. I'm afraid this farce will end soon. Soon, several people's footsteps were heard not far away. It's Luffy them. Hearing this sound, Sanji immediately stood up from the ground, overjoyed. The tight nerves suddenly eased a lot. Maybe one-on-one, he is not Su Luo's opponent. But if we gather everyone's strength, definitely can beat this marine. Marine, your arrogance is doomed to defeat you. Sanji clenched his fists and yelled to Su Luo. Facing Sanji's transformation, Su Luo did not feel any pressure. If it were the Straw Hat Pirates 2 years later, maybe it would be a bit more troublesome. But with the current Straw Hat crew, there is no hope of winning at all. He looked in the direction where the footsteps came from. A teenager wearing a yellow straw hat. A man with a green flat head. And the guy who looks like a machine transforming people. It's just Luffy, Zoro, and Frankie. Frankie still got on the boat. Su Luo's eyes narrowed slightly, feeling a bit surprised in his heart. According to his impression, a large part of the reason why Frankie got on the ship was the Enies Lobby incident. But because he destroyed the entire CP9 organization. Naturally, the Enies Lobby incident will never happen again. Presumably, something else happened in the City of Seven Waters. Su Luo thought to himself. Then slowly got up from the ground. Now that the Straw Hat crew has assembled all its members, it is time to take them all away. Luffy is here. On the other side, Nami and Chopper saw Luffy and Zoro came here, their expressions became extremely excited. Everyone is here. The most important is Luffy and Zoro, but the main force. Especially Luffy. He is even a man who can create miracles. On Sky Island, he defeated Enel and rang the golden bell. It is no exaggeration to say that Luffy and others are Nami's hope at this time. Certainly, to some extent, Nami also believes in order to believe in hope. If even the Straw Hat Pirates group that has assembled together can't deal with Su Luo's words, so today, it will be their end. My dream of drawing a map of the world will also be completely shattered. Chopper, Usopp. Soon, Luffy also noticed Nami's side. Chopper was hurt all over. Usopp and Sanji didn't get there either. It is not difficult to see that they have just had a battle with people. And, not too optimistic, although Nami is safe, there are obvious signs of crying on his face. My companion has been bullied. Luffy, be careful, this marine is very strong. Upon seeing this, Sanji quickly reminded Luffy to be careful of the enemy. As a result, what he said was ridiculed by Zoro. That's all because you are too weak. However, even though Zoro said so, he had another idea in his heart. He was on the boat, and his character was often at odds with Sanji. Two people quarrel frequently, can really discuss strength. Sanji, very strong. Being able to be said so by him is enough to show that the other party is really very strong. Zoro pressed the hilt of the sword and glanced at Marine in Sanji's mouth. The same is true for Luffy and Frankie. It's you. However, Luffy was stunned with only one glance. For Su Luo's face, he is still vividly remembered. Once in Logue Town, he not only easily avoided his own attack, but also knocked himself out with a single punch. Do you know this guy? Sanji was also surprised when he noticed Luffy's expression. With Luffy's character, it is difficult for him to remember ordinary people. But now, Luffy's reaction was obviously a deep impression of Su Luo. Luffy nodded, saying that it was true, he was the one who defeated me in Logue Town. As soon as this remark came out, the audience was in an uproar. Especially Sanji et al. They never dreamed of the Marine they met here. It turned out to be the mysterious Marine who defeated Luffy in the first place. At this time, everything was explained. So it was this guy who almost caught our captain. However, Zoro has become excited. In addition to Su Luo's strong message, he also noticed the samurai sword on Su Luo's waist. Although it looks unremarkable, it can explain that the Marine in front of him is also a man who uses swordsmanship. Facing Janhao, myself, how can you shrink back? So, you heard my companion and made Nami cry, right? Luffy's eyes suddenly became serious. Although I know that Su Luo's strength is very strong, it is difficult to deal with. If he met Su Luo here, he might choose to escape. However, hurting one's own companion is another nature. No matter how strong the opponent is, I must beat him. Come and avenge your companions. Never forgive. I want to be here to knock you off. Luffy made a loud noise, as if taking an oath. And the other people in the Straw Hat Pirates group also made preparations one after another. Face Su Luo. They are also very clear in their hearts. This battle, you can only win, not lose. Luffy, this guy is not only extremely fast, but he also uses amazing swordsmanship. Be careful. Sanji took a deep breath and quickly informed Luffy and Zoro of the information he had just obtained through the battle. Let them proceed carefully. But, at this time, Luffy was obviously overwhelmed by anger. He listened to Sanji's words, but he didn't fully listen to them. It was the first to attack Su Luo. An arm was thrown behind him and stretched a few meters away. Rubber, pistol. I saw that Luffy's arm was like a long whip and went straight to Su Luo. Stirring the surrounding air, there was a burst of breaking air. When Sanji saw this, his face was even more black. This guy Luffy, I didn't listen to what I said at all. The man in front of him is definitely not a guy that can be defeated one-on-one. To defeat him, we must gather everyone's strength. This guy Luffy is really a single-celled creature. Rao was Su Luo, and couldn't help but complain. For Luffy, plan, what it is, can you eat it? Even though Sanji had warned Luffy, Su Luo's strength was more terrifying than they thought. Luffy didn't care either. His anger reached its culmination and he shot Su Luo decisively. A rubber pistol went straight to Su Luo. Unstoppable. The nerves of Nami, Chopper, and Usopp also tightened suddenly. They are the first to arrive on this island. He was also the first to clash with Su Luo. His powerful strength once made them desperate. Now seeing Luffy take a shot, my heart is also very nervous. Come on, Luffy, Nami couldn't help shouting. And pray in my heart that Luffy's attack will work. Click. However, facing Luffy's offensive, Su Luo still stood on the spot, not evasive, gently raised his hand, and grabbed his wrist. But Luffy felt that his hand was firmly imprisoned and could no longer move forward. Nor can it shrink back. Let go of me, you fellow. Upon seeing this, Luffy shouted again and clenched his other hand into a fist, so he repeated his skills and attacked Su Luo. The result is still the same. Luffy's attack was in the eyes of others, perhaps surprisingly fast. But for the current Su Luo, his actions are as slow as a slide. Su Luo pinched both of Luffy's arms for a while. Then, Su Luo turned around and threw Luffy high from the spot. With a 180-degree flip, Luffy's head hit the ground hard like a bullet. Bang! With a loud noise, the ground struck by Luffy was shattered, leaving a series of cracks like spider webs. But because Luffy is the rubber man who ate rubber fruit, so there was no substantial harm. But before Luffy had time to get up, Su Luo flashed to catch up. Not only that, but Su Luo's arm burst out with a blast of air visible to the naked eye. Winding, covering, one could not breathe, so he dyed Su Luo's entire arm black. At this time, Luffy also felt a sense of oppression. Let his nerves tighten suddenly. This feeling made him seem familiar. Garp. It's Grandpa Garp. Every time Garp is angered and taught by Garp, I will feel this momentum. Armament Haki. Not only can you improve your own defense and attack power, but you can also capture the body of Logia. For rubber guys like Luffy, he can do substantial damage. Not immune. In any case, Luffy is the protagonist. In addition to terrifying toughness, his growth rate is like a monster. Every time you encounter an enemy, you can get a boost. Especially experience the baptism of Enel on Sky Island. Luffy's strength has been improved a lot. The key is, although Su Luo stunned Luffy once in Logue Town, it didn't take long. Luffy regained consciousness. It is enough to prove that his resilience is strong. In order not to give Luffy a chance to stand up again, Su Luo simply entangled Armament Haki this time. Used to attack Luffy. And Luffy also slammed after feeling Su Luo's imposing aura. Rubber. Machine gun. In an instant, countless afterimages blasted towards Su Luo, hitting every muscle on his body. Every punch will set off a terrifying air current. But who knows, even this level of chaos, it just doesn't hurt or itchy to hit Su Luo. Even, Su Luo didn't even step back. As if nothing felt the same. The pirate game, that's it, Straw Hat Boy. With a low voice, Su Luo aimed at Luffy's head and smashed it. Boom. The punch hit Luffy in a solid, violent sound. Even a part of the power passed directly through Luffy's body and poured into the earth. The majestic power crazily penetrated into the lower level. Visible cracks were formed on both sides of Luffy, and then spread out. At the same time, an invisible shock wave spread in all directions. Sanji and Zoro, who wanted to rush to help Luffy, all rushed back. Yes, just the aftermath of this shock pushed the two main forces on the Straw Hat pirate ship back several steps on the spot. Prevent them from approaching Su Luo. How can it be so terrifying? Sanji had to block his eyes with his arms, and his heart was extremely shocked. Although before that, he had already seen Su Luo's strength. But now Su Luo is totally different from just now. This guy didn't use his full strength when fighting against me. For a while, Sanji's heart was full of unwillingness. There is even some fear. Is it possible? Is their pirate group's journey really going to end here? Zoro was also dumbfounded on the spot. When he saw Su Luo, he realized that this person is by no means simple. Especially his confidence and aura. It made him feel very dangerous. But no matter what, Zoro didn't think of it, it was just the aftermath he created. It will be so exaggerated. It is unimaginable that Luffy was hit by Su Luo head-on. What happened again? It took a full half a minute before the shock subsided slowly. Sanji, Zoro and others barely opened their eyes and quickly looked in the direction of Luffy. Just one look. The two of them were stunned on the spot. Next came Nami, Chopper, Frankie, Usopp, even Robin, and those who have no shadows. One after another dumbfounded. Go on, just kidding. Sanji rolled his throat and swallowed nervously. I saw the ground in front of me, divided into two by a huge crack. Sea water emerged from below. Turn a whole island into two pieces. The scariest thing is that Luffy, who received a frontal punch from Su Luo, turned his eyes wide and opened his mouth slightly. It seems to be telling something. Anyone can see it. Luffy now has lost consciousness. Fainted. The Luffy who was regarded as the captain by them and defeated the enemy again and again in times of crisis. Now, didn't hold on to even one round. Su Luo was killed on the spot. The strength between the two parties is really too great. Luffy, has it been seconded? Nami blinked vigorously, seriously wondering if he had hallucinations. She really couldn't understand it, let alone accept it. Isn't Luffy a rubber fruit-capable person? Isn't it immune to all physical strikes? Why, Marine's fist can kill him in seconds. This is... What's the matter? For a while, the hope that ignited in Nami's heart completely collapsed. Although Su Luo was alone, he stood in front of them like a mountain that could not be climbed. Despair, coming again. The scene before him was like a bolt from the blue sky, shocking everyone present. Especially the Straw Hat Pirates. No one thought of the powerful Luffy who took them so many times in danger. It turns out, within half a minute, Su Luo was killed in seconds. The most terrifying thing is that just the shock released by Su Luo split the entire island into two. What kind of power is this? Usopp rolled his throat, vomiting in his mouth. He couldn't understand it, and he couldn't believe it. During the recent period, he has been confused because of the growth rate of his companions like monsters. I feel that I can't keep up with everyone. As a result, Luffy is regarded as a monster by himself. Now he was easily killed by someone. It is no exaggeration to say that Su Luo's punch not only defeated Luffy. It was a punch that broke Usopp's cognition. Can't understand. Incredible. Luffy's strength is undoubtedly the strongest among us. Usopp's voice was trembling, and his brain was blank. Luffy. Nami on the side yelled even more impatiently, wanting to wake Luffy. Luffy has always been her hope in desperate situations. Like the Murloc Arlong, it was Luffy, when he was desperate, shot and defeated the enemy. But now, Luffy is being held by Su Luo with one hand, his eyes rolled white. Nami's voice seemed to be inaudible at all. What should we do? Chopper's hands trembled, he didn't even dream of it. That powerful Luffy will be defeated by Marine. So that he now has no idea what to do. Could it be that today is really the end of the Straw Hat Pirates? Luffy, this guy. Sanji's face instantly paled. Although he had known for a long time that Luffy was the most unlikely person on the ship to use his head and follow the plan, but his strength should not be underestimated. Even with all his strength, he couldn't take Luffy. So even if he doesn't act according to his own plan, Luffy can often make amazing moves. In the desperate situation, try to turn the tide. That's why everyone believed in Luffy again and again. But now, Luffy has paid a terrible price because of his recklessness. The three main forces on the ship, I have been injured, Luffy fainted, only the guy with the green algae head is left. Facing this marine monster, do we really have a winning percentage? Luffy, why can't you follow my plan? Sanji gritted his teeth, feeling regretful in his heart. The self just now should stop Luffy. Together, there may be a chance. Now, it's completely over. Luffy, lost. Zoro's eyes were even more staring like bull's eyes, and his mouth opened into an O shape. He didn't even think about that powerful Luffy. Will be killed by the opponent in seconds. Even if it was just defeated, he was not unacceptable in his heart. After all, this guy Su Luo exudes a strong aura. Powerful, and it is extremely dangerous. But, to be defeated and to be killed in seconds. But there is a huge difference. Call. Thinking of this, Zoro couldn't help but let out a deep breath. This marine is even scarier than I expected. No wonder that guy Sanji was repaired so badly. Although Zoro ridiculed Sanji from time to time. But for Sanji's strength, Zoro has always recognized it in his heart. But, Zoro was not in despair at this time. He will not give up easily. Especially the katana on him. In Zoro's view, the marine in front of him would choose the samurai sword. It can never be an ornament. His true identity is likely to be a powerful swordsman. It's just that Luffy's strength is too weak in his eyes. That's why I disdain to use weapons. In addition, there was the moment when he just attacked Luffy. Something seemed to be wrapped around the arm. Although I can't tell what it is, the aura it exudes is very powerful. I don't know if I can force this guy's sword with my current strength. Zoro's eyes narrowed slightly, his right hand slowly pulled out a green headscarf from behind him, and then tied it on top of his head. This marine in front of me. It is worth all the effort. Do not. Zoro couldn't help but shook his head, it's not worth my all-out effort. It's that if I don't exert my full strength, I will end up like Luffy. Next second, Zoro pulled out his weapon cleanly, holding knives in both hands, staring at Su Luo firmly. Watching his every move, don't dare to be careless. On the other hand, Su Luo's expression is completely opposite to that of the Straw Hat Pirates. Until now, he still maintains an understatement. With a light and strong toe, he crossed the sea and landed in front of Zoro and others. Who is the next? Su Luo glanced at Straw Hat crew and said lightly. Although these people were given a chance, Su Luo knew it very well in his heart. With the current strength of the Straw Hat Pirate group. Whether it's one-on-one with yourself, or a few of them together. Neither can be their own opponent. This time, it's awful. When Usopp saw this, he felt his heartbeat start to pound and accelerate. Luffy has been seconded. He really couldn't imagine any other way to change the situation. Sanji, Zoro, now. I can only rely on you. You must cheer. Nami's eyes went back and forth between Sanji and Zoro. This is the last hope in her heart. If even Sanji and Zoro are defeated, it's really over. And Chopper beside Nami stared at Zoro with a serious face at this time, and took out 2 blue wave balls from his body, then glanced down. I can only use that thing. This is the medicine he uses to strengthen his body. The drug is effective enough to last for several minutes. But it will have certain side effects on the body. Especially when eating the 3rd blue wave ball. Although you can gain incomparable power, it will make you lose your mind. Become a real monster and launch an indiscriminate attack. If possible, Chopper didn't want to use this power in front of his companions. But now, he must break the impasse before him. In order to let the companions live. I saw Chopper dragging his wounded body, moving forward step by step. Sanji, Zoro, I'll help you. Chopper's voice is not loud, but very powerful. And firm. Anyone can hear it, the determination in his tone. Chopper, your body. Sanji noticed the condition of Chopper, and was a little worried. His injury is undoubtedly the heaviest. I can still fight. Chopper said stubbornly. Yes. Seeing Chopper's serious attitude, Sanji couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth, showing a gratified smile. He took another cigarette out of his pocket, slowly put it in his mouth, and lit it. Because of the oppression that Su Luo brought to everyone. So much that Sanji's hand trembling when lighting the cigarette. Call. Sanji slowly breathed out a smoke ring, bursting out even more shocking news. Everyone, be careful, I have a hunch, until now, this marine hasn't been serious. This remark immediately caused an uproar. The Straw Hat crew present all stared. Especially Nami, Usopp and Frankie. Seriously doubt if I heard something wrong. Solved Luffy with one punch. Obviously it is an exaggeration. But you told me, the marine in front of me is not serious yet. Is that a lie? Really? On the contrary, it was Zoro, whose eyes only flashed with surprise. Unexpectedly, you found out too. Zoro said jokingly. I want to ease the depressed atmosphere at this time. In fact, Zoro also noticed this. Since they arrived here, Su Luo's hand did not touch the samurai sword on his waist. Since the opponent chose such a weapon, it was still a plain-looking knife. That means that this weapon is by no means an ornament. If it is mainly decoration, you should choose those famous knives, or beautiful-looking weapons. But this marine's knife is like a random drawn out of a bunch of mass-produced weapons. From this point of view, it is enough to show that this guy is a swordsman with a very high level of swordsmanship. Zoro affirmed Sanji's worries with his understanding of kendo. At the same time it also means a powerful swordsman who didn't even bother to use swordsmanship defeated Luffy. And it's still a punch. Just thinking about it, Zoro's forehead and back couldn't help but sweat. But, except for this sense of tension and oppression, there is still a strong emotion in Zoro's heart. Excited, he couldn't help but look forward to a fight with Su Luo. Can you force the opponent to use the sword? How big is the swordsmanship gap between myself and the opponent? I am afraid that only after the fight, can we know. Superior. Suddenly, Zoro screamed and stomped hard on his toes, and the whole person was like a green lightning, and went straight to Su Luo. In order to be able to defeat Su Luo and resolve this huge crisis, Zoro completely gave up 1-to-1. But to give everyone a signal to encircle Su Luo together. Perhaps this is their only opportunity. Sanji, Chopper, and Frankie all moved together, attacking Su Luo from all directions. Cooperate with Zoro's offensive. This battle will affect the fate of the entire Straw Hat Pirates. Have you finally shot together? Su Luo watched this scene silently, his expression still calm and lightly downplayed. He threw Luffy to the ground and greeted the opponent. And Zoro was the first person to rush to Su Luo. At this time, he firmly bit the last weapon in his mouth, and used his three-sword style. In an instant, the sharp blades exuding cold air slashed towards Su Luo from different angles. The sound of breaking through the air rang in Su Luo's ears. And he recognized Zoro's weapon at a glance. One of them is a famous knife in this world, known as the Big Knife 21 Worker. Harmony in one text. It was the weapon he took over from his childhood, carrying the dream of becoming the world's largest swordsman. The rest are equally famous. Third generation ghostly. As well as Snow Go. It is worth mentioning that Shizu should have been destroyed by Colonel Shun when Zoro escaped from Eni's lobby. But because Su Luo defeated the entire CP9 by himself. The Eni's lobby incident did not happen at all. It made Zoro's Snow Go safe and sound. But in any case, Su Luo, who owns Zanpakuto Ryujinjaka, naturally looks down on these weapons known as famous swords. However, this scene made Zoro even more angry. As a swordsman, Zoro is very keen on fighting. You can't miss Su Luo's every move. However, what he didn't even dream of was, at this time, Su Luo's attention is all on his knife. Yes, in Su Luo's eyes, there is only his own knife. In other words, his three swordsmanship did not arouse Su Luo's attention at all. This kind of careless attitude. It's even more than Hawkeye's use of a knife to deal with himself. You guy. For a moment, Zoro was furious. For him, there is nothing more humiliating than this. This kind of contempt. No, this is already a kind of contempt. I have to force you to make a sword today. Zoro burst out immediately. It's like yelling at Su Luo, more like taking an oath to myself. Chopper, Sanji, and Frankie. Taking advantage of this opportunity, one after another appeared beside Su Luo. And used their own moves to attack Su Luo together. Usopp set up a slingshot at a long distance. Nami also used the weather stick. This is almost the Straw Hat Pirate group, the strongest combat power. But in the face of the siege of everyone, Su Luo still has a casual attitude. Since you want to see my swordsmanship so much, let you see it, Zoro. Su Luo saw this and simply held down his samurai sword. In an instant, a trace of seriousness flashed in his eyes. An extremely majestic sense of oppression swept over in all directions. It seemed to set off a blast of air, turning it into an invisible wall of air. Zoro, Chopper, Sanji, Frankie, and Usopp and Nami. Without exception, the attacks were all frozen into the air. Can't move forward any further. How so? Zoro's eyes widened, only two words remained in his mind. Danger. The man in front of him is extremely dangerous. Just holding down the katana can burst out such an amazing aura. What exaggeration would it be if the katana was drawn out? It's horrible. Monster. Zoro rolled his throat and swallowed nervously. Only a monster can describe the marine in front of you. The most frightening thing is that he felt this feeling for the first time, especially when facing Hawkeye. I have never been so embarrassed. He could even feel that all the hairs on his body stood upside down. My heart is even more creepy. Eagle Eye. Why do I suddenly think of Hawkeye? Is this Marine's swordsmanship better than Hawkeye? But, isn't Hawkeye the #1 swordsman in the world? Zoro couldn't understand why he felt that Su Luo was more terrifying than Hawkeye. Don't blink, Zoro. Su Luo spoke slowly, bending his 5 fingers one by one, squeezing Zanpakuto tightly. Vientiane. Since Zoro wanted to see his swordsmanship so much, let him know it firsthand. Su Luo thought so. The 5 fingers grasped Zanpakuto tightly and liberated on the spot. Surroundings. Everything is ashes, Ryujin Jaka. As Su Luo mumbled Shikai, the Zanpakuto on his waist suddenly changed. Zoro was suddenly stunned. That knife. Although Zoro's knowledge of famous swords is far less than Tashigi's knowledge, but the strength of the sword can still be easily judged. He just glanced at the liberated Ryujin Jaka, and he was stunned on the spot. The samurai sword, which should have been mediocre, suddenly became extremely powerful. Such a scene directly collapsed his cognition. What exactly is going on? Zoro took a breath. I felt unbelievable and unbelievable. However, this is only the beginning. As Ryujin Jaka showed its true form, a wave of heat burst out in all directions. The scorching temperature made everyone present sweat. What's the matter with this temperature? Sanji clenched his teeth, his brain just felt blank. His devilish feet use high-speed rotation to generate high temperature on his right foot, and then kick the enemy. It can even scorch the enemy's bones. But facing the heat wave released from Su Luo's samurai sword, even he couldn't bear it. At the moment Sanji was stunned, he was hit by a shock wave on his chest and flew out on the spot. In fact, it's not just Sanji. Chopper, Frankie, all received the same shock. A mouthful of blood was sprayed on the spot, sprinkled into the sky, and turned into dancing butterflies. The body is like a kite with a broken line, flying upside down. The long-range attacks launched by Usopp and Nami turned into ashes on the spot. From a distance, it seemed that a special barrier had formed around Su Luo. Anyone who approaches him will get burned. It's hot. Even Zoro, who was struggling to the death, couldn't bear it at this time, feeling that the famous knife in his hand became extremely hot. An exaggerated heat eroded his palm. Even the air in front of Zoro began to become distorted. It made him miserable. Don't talk about continuing to shoot Su Luo. Just being able to stand here, I tried my best. Next second, the shock wave swept toward Zoro. He used the snow to walk with the ghost to resist. But who knows, the snow blocking the outermost layer broke directly on the spot. Turned into two parts. Zoro's mouth seemed to be hit by a hammer. Cracked on the spot. Blood came out of the wound. But in a breathlessness, it evaporates directly. The wound is healed and crusted. Su Luo also felt a little surprised. As expected of Zoro, he can bear the arrogance of Ryujin Jaka. Su Luo couldn't help sighing. But, this is just arrogance. Instead of slashing, because Su Luo has not pulled Ryujin Jaka out of the scabbard until now. It's just a heat wave of liberation. It directly defeated Straw Hat Crew. Nami and Usopp slumped to the ground on the spot. Chapped lips. At this time, they only felt that they had been thrown into the hottest desert in Alabasta. Exposure for several hours. The body is severely dehydrated. So much so that hallucinations occurred. Su Luo swells and grows more and more in their sight. Become a giant of fire tens of meters. Looking down at them in the earth. The double torment of body and spirit. Nami couldn't support it at first. The scene in front of him became pitch black, and his body leaned forward, stiffly falling down. Thump. And Usopp did not support it for too long. Although his willpower is a little stronger than Nami. But the current situation is just 2 more breaths longer than Nami, and then he fell to the ground. The coke in Frankie's body was even more evaporated by the high temperature on the surface. Let him lose his fighting spirit. The metal parts on her body became hot quickly. He couldn't help lying on the ground rolling in pain. And hiding in the distance, watching the fragile old man and others. It was even more stunned. I really can't understand the current situation. Su Luo, who is this guy? Why is his aura so strong? Not only did the 3 horror sailboats collapse with one punch. The weapon in his hand releases a high temperature like the sun. What kind of monster is this man? Too scary. For a time, these people couldn't help but talk. I feel more sympathetic to Straw Hat Crew. Why is it here that I met a monster like Su Luo? However, more than sympathy. Their mood became more and more excited. The more powerful Su Luo demonstrated, the more likely it is to help them regain the shadow from Moia. Is this Su Luo's true strength? Robin's eyes were wide, his pupils dilated, and he stared at Su Luo's figure. In her eyes, the air around Su Luo was completely distorted by the high temperature. Compared with the capital of 7 waters, it's even different. Wait a minute, Su Luo didn't take it seriously when he faced the CP9 organization. Are you kidding? Robin was dumbfounded on the spot. Although Su Luo at that time defeated Lucci and others with a crushing attitude. Or which kind of spike? But compared with the present, there is a certain gap. And during this time, I have been staying with Su Luo all the time. He never cultivated alone to become stronger. This also means that when facing the entire CP9 organization, Su Luo didn't bother to be serious at all. Where is this man sacred? Robin rolled his throat, spitting nervously. For a while, she was unsure and stayed next to a man like Su Luo. In the end, is it good or bad? Do not. Robin shook his head. Perhaps, Su Luo is my biggest umbrella. In addition, Robin can also confirm. That is today. It's really the end of the Straw Hat Pirates. At the same time, although Chopper was lifted by the heat wave, he still sat up from the ground hard. At this temperature, it's almost like standing on the sun. Chopper rolled his throat, trying his best to rush to the confusion, and before disappearing, he threw the blue wave ball in his hand into his mouth. Swallowed on the spot, majestic power emerged from Chopper's body. Next second, the hair on his body began to grow wildly at an unprecedented speed. It's more exaggerated than any previous transformation. The hands are changing into 5 fingers. The body swells and hardens rapidly. Like a real monster. However, Chopper's self-awareness disappeared completely at this moment. Become a behemoth that is completely irrational. Wow! A beast-like roar resounded through the entire terrifying three-way sailing ship. On the contrary, Su Luo could not help but start to reflect. Is it too much for yourself? Monster enhancement. In order to be able to defeat Su Luo and save his partner, Chopper did not hesitate to eat 3 blue wave balls in a row. This is a drug developed by Chopper, which can disrupt the deformation wavelength of Zone Demon Fruit power, thereby gaining more powerful power. But this medicine itself is also a highly toxic. If you take the second capsule continuously within 6 hours, you will not be able to control the wavelength change. Forcibly taking 3 capsules, it will start to run wild. The body will uncontrollably change the adult animal form. Foot strength, weight, mind, fur, wrist strength, and wrestling will all be greatly strengthened. However, the price is to completely lose self-awareness and become a monster that can only attack the target. Continue to destroy, until the body is exhausted and die. Wow! The violent Chopper stood there, opening his huge mouth and roaring towards the sky. The roar resounded throughout the magic triangle. Everyone present was dumbfounded. Chopper, when did you have such terrifying power? Zoro blinked vigorously, seriously wondering if he had any hallucinations. Otherwise, how to interpret the picture in front of you? Chopper, isn't he a ship doctor? What exactly is going on? But soon, Zoro shook his head. Deny this idea. Su Luo's strength is indeed strong. Even strong enough to make myself feel a bit suffocated. But, said that his strength can create illusions for himself. Zoro didn't believe it. Bang! And just as he was slightly stunned, Chopper gave a hard kick on one foot. Go straight to Su Luo. Although a heat wave hit him, it pained him terribly. But under the runaway, Chopper didn't have the ability to discern at all. In his eyes, there is only Su Luo. In my mind, there was only the idea of killing Su Luo. On the contrary, Su Luo is still in a calm state. In fact, the land under his feet is not an island. It's Lea's terrifying three-way sailing ship. It is claimed to be the largest pirate ship in the world. Its quality is naturally not comparable to a real island. As Su Luo liberated Ryujin, the sailing boat began to melt. If it continues for a while, I am afraid that the entire sailboat will not melt. The sea is boiling. Maybe you will repeat the situation when you met Haki. Although with my physical strength, swimming from here to Sabayati Archipelago is not difficult. But if you bring Straw Hat Crew and Robin. Su Luo thought for a while, and felt that he still needed a boat. Thinking of this, he simply re-seals Ryujin. The released flames condensed towards the blade, and dissipate at a speed visible to the naked eye. The high temperature on the ground receded sharply. As the sea breeze blows, and the gloomy fog recondenses, the temperature of the entire terrifying three-way sailing boat dropped a lot in an instant. Straw Hat Crew took a breath at this moment. But I also saw Chopper rushing to Su Luo. At this time, he was at least a few meters tall, like a giant. With red eyes, he stretched out his palms and patted Su Luo's face hard. Although it is not clear why Chopper suddenly became like this. But what I have to say is that the power he possessed at this time can be said to be very powerful. Not even losing to the main players such as Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro. The most important thing is that Su Luo has put away his power for some reason. Do not, because of arrogance and contempt. Sanji lay on the ground, taking a breath. He was wounded all over, and just staying awake was already very good. Looking at Chopper and Su Luo. Instead, the corners of Sanji's mouth rose. Marine, you boast that you have great power and don't put us people in your eyes. This is your weakness. Chopper, kill him. For a while, everyone suddenly realized. Maybe Chopper is not as good as Su Luo. But because of his arrogance and underestimation, This attack might become a key point. Come on, Chopper. Come on, Chopper. Usopp, Nami and others yelled again. They could even feel that the palm of Chopper's dropped hand was turning the surrounding air into a terrifying air current. He slapped Su Luo hard. A shock wave rushed to his front. Have the opportunity. There is definitely a chance. Chopper. Zoro gritted his teeth and rolled his throat nervously. If Chopper can beat Su Luo here, it would be a great thing. However, faced with a menacing attack from Chopper, Su Luo still does not evade. He stood in place, calmly looking at the monster-enhanced Chopper. In my mind, I recalled that the first time he showed this form was in the Enies Lobby incident, against Kumadori. At that time, Kumadori was extremely confident in his iron body. In an attempt to block Chopper's attack with this move. Result, straight down. But again, the guy Kumadori, the strength itself is not very strong. Furthermore, the Type 6 iron body is said to be powerful, but no matter how you look at it, it looks like a low-profile version of armament Haki. Or, the original author at that time hadn't designed Haki yet. Su Luo muttered to himself. Next second, release armament Haki decisively. The majestic air flow burst out, entangled, and covered his whole body. The skin was dyed black in an instant, and becomes harder than steel. Boom! With a loud noise, Chopper's attack directly hit Su Luo's body. Collide strongly with his armament Haki. A terrifying air current swept out in all directions. The ground under the feet of the two of them was shattered in layers, cracked into spider webs, and huge flying rocks rolled out continuously. The others at Straw Hat Crew held their breath at this moment, staring at both Chopper and Su Luo. Pray silently for Chopper. As a result, 2 or 3 could not breathe. Instead, the monster-like Chopper made a miserable cry. Steps back again and again. The hand that hit Su Luo began to droop naturally. Bone. Break on the spot. Su Luo, who has entangled armament Haki, has no idea how much stronger his body is than iron body. Chopper hit it with a palm, as if hitting the hardest steel. The power to recoil back. His body couldn't bear it. Or, hurry up and end this farce. Su Luo took a deep breath and muttered to himself. Soon, Su Luo jumped up and instantly reached the height of Chopper's antlers. The two sides face each other. On the contrary, Chopper, who had lost his self-awareness, showed fearful eyes. He is fear Su Luo. Obviously there is no reason, but he still shows fear for Su Luo's strength. For a while, the violent Chopper just wanted to escape the scene. However, before he had time to turn around and escape, Su Luo clenched his fist around armament Haki, and slammed it in front of his face. Chapter 91. Boom! Su Luo slammed a punch, hitting the monster Chopper's door, and a loud noise erupted. The majestic power surged out. Makes Chopper's facial features instantly twisted into one place. A mouthful of blood spurted from the corner of his mouth. Immediately afterwards, Chopper's legs softened involuntarily, and his body fell toward the ground like a sponge. Boom! There was another muffled noise, and Chopper's back hit the ground straight. A shock was set off and spread to the surroundings. Luffy passed out. Sanji, Usopp, Nami, even lost to this shock wave, were set off on the spot. Only Zoro inserted the demon's sword in his hand into the ground half a meter deep, his feet clinging to the ground. Only escaped a catastrophe, barely not being lifted out. But he quickly thought of Chopper's condition and looked up at it. At a glance, Su Luo stood on the spot blankly. Chopper's body shrank quickly, his eyes rolled white, and his mouth opened wide, as if he was saying something. Lying on the ground staggeringly. Not moving at all. I don't know if it is life or death. Zoro was shocked by the power that Chopper possessed when he turned into a monster just now. As a result, I didn't expect. In a blink of an eye, Chopper was killed by Su Luo. The impact of this change is undoubtedly huge. Zoro couldn't help but doubt life. This guy in front of me, really? Can it be defeated? Chopper. Sanji on the side rolled several times on the ground before he stopped. He blinked and looked at Chopper. The brain just feels blank. Just a moment ago, he felt that Su Luo was too arrogant and underestimated. The only flaw was exposed. As long as Chopper makes a full blow, he can turn defeat into victory. But who knows? Don't talk about turning defeat into victory. The monsterized chopper didn't hurt Su Luo at all. The power gap between the two sides. It's not that Su Luo is arrogant and can make up for it by underestimating the enemy. Can't win. They can't win. At this moment, Sanji, who had always been calm, was also plunged into deep despair. Not to mention the others. There was a look of despair in his eyes. It's completely over. Although Zoro remained standing, anyone could tell. Su Luo's swordsmanship is far above Zoro. Even the shock released at the moment Su Luo drew the knife easily shattered Zoro's snow. What else is this? Can't win. This matter has undoubtedly become the consensus in everyone's mind. It is completely different from the powerful enemies encountered before. Those enemies are just powerful. But this time Su Luo. It is invincible. It's not a concept at all. How much strength does Su Luo hide? Robin on the side couldn't help taking a breath. Just seeing the scene of Chopper running away, she really sweated for Su Luo. From the momentum and destructive power. The power that Chopper possesses is not inferior to Lucky. Even more exaggerated than Lucky. Su Luo even gave up the defense and took the initiative to take Chopper. This arrogance might really rewrite the battle. In a blink of an eye, this strong collision ended with Chopper's failure. Especially Su Luo's body. The whole body was wrapped in black air. This is an ability Robin has never seen before. But she can feel it. This is a very advanced technique. I don't know how many times stronger than the 6 formulas believed by the CP9 organization. This guy Su Luo is the real monster. Robin couldn't help but vomit, and at the same time scanned the situation of the Straw Hat Pirates. Zoro is the only one who can fight now. From today, there should be no more Straw Hat Pirates on the sea in the future. But, although Su Luo once demonstrated crushing strength, he did not defeat Zoro's belief. After Chopper fell, the whole area fell into silence. The atmosphere became a little weird. However, Zoro didn't say a word, just pulled out the demon sword and inserted into the ground again. Then hold it tightly in your hand. The other hand grabbed the broken snow and walked away. His mouth is a word of harmony. Maybe I will lose today. Do not. In this situation, there should be no chance of winning. There is too much difference in strength. And Su Luo is also marine. It's not Shichibukai like Hawkeye. There is absolutely no reason to let them go. But even so, as a swordsman, he would never allow back injuries. Come on, this is the last battle between us. Zoro made a low voice, opened his legs, and approached Su Luo. In his eyes, there was a bit more calmness and a bit fierce. Looking at Zoro in front of him, Su Luo nodded calmly. Su Luo is still very sure of Zoro's belief. Before you start, are you interested in joining Marine? After some silence, Su Luo spoke suddenly. Even he himself felt surprised by these words. But I have to say that Zoro's strength is really good. Especially the growth after 2 years. It even blocked the Ant and Kaido from the front, and the 2 Four Emperors jointly released the Overlord Sea. Although only 1 second, but it is also quite a feat. And because of the Alabasta incident, Enies Lobby incident, Straw Hat crew did not participate. They did not attract the attention of the world government. Plus Zoro was a bounty hunter before. If you join Marine, the people on the upper echelon wouldn't say anything. Even in the future, if you encounter an enemy again, you can give Zoro a fair share of credit. Let him take the blame. It's perfect. Only. After hearing Su Luo's invitation, Zoro's face was startled. Obviously, he did not expect that the Marine in front of him would suddenly say such a thing. But no matter what, Zoro just froze for a moment. Now he already has a part in his heart. Join Marine. Betrayed Luffy. Feel sorry. He would rather die here. You seem to have made a mistake, Marine. Thinking of this, Zoro raised the corner of his mouth. If your proposal is to use my life in exchange for Luffy's life, maybe it can succeed. But let me join Marine. Then you are really wrong. I, Roronoa Zoro, a crew member of the Straw Hat Pirates. My captain is only Luffy. Zoro took a deep breath, his voice becoming firmer and firmer. Like a real samurai, he will never change until death. I'm pirate. With a loud shout, Zoro disappeared on the spot. The speed is as fast as a green lightning. One could not breathe, and then flashed behind Su Luo. 3 swordsmanship ghost slash. 3 invisible slashes, while blocking Su Luo's retreat, went straight to his vitals. Bang, 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 3 knives, all hits. This is Zoro's belief. He will only follow one person in this life. That is Luffy, who wants to become One Piece. Instead of Marine Su Luo. Really? Su Luo looked directly at Zoro and was not surprised by his answer. The entire Straw Hat Pirate group is very loyal to Luffy. Especially Zoro. In order to help Luffy become One Piece, he did not hesitate to give up his dream, even his life. Inviting him to join Marine is indeed not very realistic. I want to be here to knock you down. Suddenly, Zoro made a low voice, his eyes became serious and determined. Even if you have realized that the swordsmanship gap between the two sides is not small. He still faced Su Luo bravely. There is no intention to back down or compromise. Immediately afterwards, Zoro's shape began to change, and an indescribable air current radiated from him. From Su Luo's perspective, Zoro even grew a new head and arms. 9 swords flow. Su Luo's eyes narrowed slightly, recalling that Zoro did possess such an ability. This is almost the strongest swordsmanship of his master. When it first appeared, it was against the Kaku of the CP9 organization. However, when he was released for the second time, the enemy he faced was one of Shichibukai's violent Kun bears. It didn't play a role. In other words, the current Zoro's strength lies between Kaku and Kun Shang. Well, for the sake of your hard work, let you see that my swordsmanship is better now. Su Luo spoke slowly, and his fingers clenched Zanpakuto again. In an instant, Su Luo's momentum changed drastically. Just this momentum is enough to stir up the surrounding air and form a terrifying air current. Swept in all directions, the terrifying sense of oppression is overwhelming to Zoro. So strong. Zoro rolled his throat. He could even feel a little trembling in his body. Ghost Chi 9 Blades Ashura. Magic 9 Flashes. Soon, Zoro launched an initial attack, and the whole person spun towards Su Luo. The sword intent released is much stronger than Kaku. But, in Su Luo's eyes, Zoro's swordsmanship at this time seemed unremarkable. Especially the snow walk in his hand, because he couldn't bear his own attack, he broke down on the spot. Seriously affect Zoro's combat effectiveness. It's time to end this farce. Su Luo took a deep breath, pulled out Zanpakuto with one hand, and cut forward instantly. The invisible sword energy went straight out. The speed is even more exaggerated than Zoro's 9 swords. Not waiting for Zoro to get close. This slash fell directly on him. The demon sword fell apart on the spot. Jian Qi continued to move forward, inlaid into Zoro's body, cutting away his coat, skin, and muscles layer by layer. The blood falls into the sky, like a bloody butterfly dancing. Zoro's eyes widened even more. An unbelievable gaze stared at Su Luo. Even though he knew in his heart, his swordsmanship was not as good as Su Luo. But the scene before him completely shocked his cognition. Unreachable. Immediately afterwards, Zoro's eyes were full of unwillingness. Even if he tried his best, he couldn't touch Su Luo with his sword. Even with him a strong collision on the blade. Can't do it. Own, I can't get close at all. It's just a slash in the air. It is enough to defeat yourself. There is too much difference in the strength between the two sides. This guy's swordsmanship is not even under the eagle eyes. Zoro's brain was running fast, recalling that he had encountered one of Shichibukai's eagle eyes when he was in East Blue. At the same time, that person is also known as the world's #1 swordsman. The master's swordsmanship is not only weird, but also advanced. At that time, I couldn't resist. But even at that time, he was not as desperate as he is now. The key is, since seeing Eagle Eye's sword surgery, Zoro seemed inspired. Train yourself around the clock. Whether it is physical strength or swordsmanship, they are far stronger than the self at that time. But even so, it still doesn't work. What the hell is this marine? In an instant, Zoro left his feet on the ground, and his body flew out like a kite with a broken line. It formed a perfect parabola in the air and fell heavily to the ground. Because of the impact, Zoro's body was instantly bounced. Then fall again, over and over again. After a few more tumblings, it stopped completely. And his body was even more stained with blood. Bone can be seen deep in the wound. 2 famous knives are damaged. Don't talk about it again. If you just change to someone else, I'm afraid it's already dead. As expected of Zoro, more powerful than I thought. Su Luo couldn't help but praise Zoro's strength when he saw it. Although I did not liberate Zanpakuto, I only used 10% of the power of swordsmanship. But it's also enough to kill Lucci's level of power in a second. But anyway, Zoro in this state naturally lost his combat effectiveness. Including the others at Straw Hat Crew. Already. No one can stop oneself from doing anything anymore. The entire Straw Hat Pirates. That's it. Ended. Su Luo took a deep breath and put Zanpakuto back into the scabbard, indicating that Robin could use her ability to catch these pirates. I have to say that Robin's flower fruit is really easy to use in terms of restraint and imprisonment. Robin couldn't help being stunned when he heard this. Until now, she was still in deep shock. When she first heard about Straw Hat Crew, she thought this pirate group was just a very ordinary rookie. Even if Su Luo doesn't arrest them, they will also get lost in the magic triangle. Removed from the sea. But the whole battle continued. Robin was also taken aback. Although this pirate group is only a few people, and everyone is very young. But the power they possess is not inferior to those of the CP9 organization. Sanji, Zoro, and monster like Chopper. Look at the first half of the entire Grand Line. Definitely one of the best. Result. In front of Su Luo, all were killed in seconds. I don't know if these people are unlucky or Su Luo is too scary. Robin sighed in his heart and did what Su Luo said. Use flower fruit's ability to open arms on Straw Hat Crew and move them together. However, in addition to the strength of this pirate group, the bond between them also moved Robin. She couldn't help being curious. If you did not encounter Su Luo, what kind of adventure will this pirate group have? Let go, they. However, just as Robin was thinking to himself, a voice suddenly sounded from behind her. What? Robin was taken aback, and immediately turned to look. Surprisingly, he discovered that Su Luo was the first Luffy who was killed by Su Luo and passed out. At this time, he woke up unexpectedly. And, a look of anger. 3 horror sailing ships. In the castle, because of the violent vibration that Su Luo and Straw Hat Crew produced when they played against each other. Leah wakes up early and sends his shadow bat to explore. After he witnessed Su Luo defeating the Straw Hat Pirates, the whole person was stunned. I couldn't help but wonder if I hadn't woken up yet. Or still dreaming. What the hell is going on with this marine? Moia couldn't help clenching his fists, his body trembling with excitement. He can't remember how long he hasn't been so excited now. The key is, it's not just the marine Su Luo. There is also Straw Hat Crew. Although the strength of these pirates is not as good as Su Luo, but it is also quite powerful. To know, the first half of the Grand Line is not like the second half. Experts gathered. There are many people who can use Haki and fruit power. Even, Conqueror's Haki can only be born out of 1,000,000 people. There are also many in the second half of the Grand Line. And the first half of the Grand Line. Don't say anything. Demon Fruit Power and Conqueror's Haki are the Awakeners. Even those who knew Haki existed were in the minority. Demon Fruit Power can scare a group of people just by saying it. The strong in this sea area, after all, are less. I have been entrenched in this magic triangle for more than 10 years. Although hundreds of ships are lured in by me every year. But the shadows of these people are weak and pitiful. Moia couldn't help but recall what had happened over the years. It can be called a more powerful shadow, and there is only one skeleton named Brook. He was stuffed into the body of Jianhao Ryoma. Other than that, there is no other guy who can be of interest to him. Although I got Oz's body, there has been no suitable shadow to use. Whenever I think about it, Moonlight Moia would feel sorry. I regret that my great work could not be completed. But now, he doesn't think so. In his opinion, Zoro's swordsmanship is not weaker than the guy named Brook. The monster chopper excites him even more. The most important thing is Moonlight Leah, in the first half of the Grand Line. I have never seen a marine as powerful as Su Luo. According to his perception, the strength of this guy must at least be the elite of the Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral team. But judging from his uniform, it seems to be just an ordinary marine. In addition, I have been using the magic triangle to bring camouflage and hide myself. Moia felt that even if he was here to shoot Su Luo, it should and will not attract the attention of this department. If you can get his shadow, my greatest work can be completed. Thinking of this, Moia's eyes exuded an unprecedented enthusiasm. The corners of his mouth gradually rose, and a smile appeared. His heart is even more determined. No matter what the price is paid. Just get the shadow of Su Luo. Even if it is wanted by Marine again. Also do not hesitate. The big deal. Just go to New World again. As long as there is this person's shadow, plus Oz's body. Just find a place to hide and harvest the shadows of the passing pirates. Grow up slowly. Maybe even the harm that man caused to me, I can fight back fiercely. Moia clenched his teeth, unable to contain the excitement in his heart. He wanted to rush out now and get rid of Su Luo. Take away his shadow. But, considering that Su Luo's strength is very strong. In order to be sure, Moia also hurriedly ordered. Gathered all the combat power on the terrifying three-way sailing ship, gathered towards Su Luo's location. In any case, he will get the shadow of Su Luo. At the same time, just when Robin used the ability of flower fruit to move the Straw Hat crew according to Su Luo's instructions, he was about to take it to the boat. A low voice sounded from behind her. Scared Robin quickly turned his head and looked around. Luffy, who was knocked out by Su Luo's punch, stood up again. He shook his head to make himself more awake. I said, let them go. Soon, Luffy screamed, clenching his fist tightly with one hand, and slammed Robin out, forcing her to step back. But the shoulder was still hit by Luffy's fist. Almost fell to the ground. Nami, Zoro, Sanji. Then they all looked at Luffy. No one thought that Luffy would wake up at this time. However, in their eyes, hope was rekindled. The biggest feature of Luffy is resilience. They sailed all the way so far. Luffy has no idea how many times he has been defeated. But every time, he would stand up again. Again and again. Perseverance. Until you defeat your opponent. This is Luffy. Are you awake? Su Luo frowned slightly when he saw this. Although fighting against Luffy, he didn't try his best. But somehow it also entangled armament Haki. Can directly cause damage to those with fruit ability. Erase the characteristics of the Luffy rubber man. As expected of Luffy, Su Luo sighed, but he didn't think there was any problem with this in his heart. What if Luffy can stand up? The strength gap between the two sides is like a cloud and mud difference. If not to hand him over to Garp, in exchange for the opportunity to return to East Blue. With Su Luo's strength, there is nothing wrong with killing Luffy here. Marine. After Luffy pushed Robin back, he turned to look at Su Luo, his eyes full of endless anger. You hurt my companion like this, I won't let you go. In the next second, Luffy took a deep breath, for fear that the people on the terrifying three-way sailing ship would not hear the same. Use the loudest voice. Shouted loudly, I want to be here and beat you away fiercely. Then take my companion and continue to see. I'm the man who wants to be the One Piece. For a while, everyone present was surprised by this declaration. One Piece. Robin looked incredible. Does this guy know his situation? Anyone can see the gap between him and Su Luo. Say what to become One Piece. Is he stupid? However, judging from Luffy's performance, Robin felt that this man did not have any madness. His eyes are more sober, serious than ever before. Soon, Luffy's legs spread out, one hand clenched his fist and pressed it to the ground, while the other pressed his knee. Second gear. As Luffy growled, his body changed instantly. The hands and feet are very flexible, and the skin becomes red and shiny. White evaporation was even more wafting out of his body. Second gear is Luffy's unique combat technique. Use his rubberized legs as pumps to boost blood flow and strengthen the body. And in this state, Luffy's speed is not inferior to Master 6 style Lucci. Go to hell, you. After completing the transformation, Luffy's movements were even more clean. He let out a low growl, and his body disappeared in place. From Su Luo's perspective, Rao is also very fast. Rubber jet machine gun. In the next second, Luffy clenched his fists with both hands, swiped quickly, and beat Su Luo. The speed is so fast that several afterimages can be produced. And every afterimage is a real physical attack. Chi attacked Su Luo. It seems to have dozens of fists. However, for Su Luo, Luffy, who is only in second gear, still poses no threat. The strength gap between the two sides is not at all in the second gear, and the third gear can make up for this level of reinforcement. Su Luo was wrapped around the black armament Haki, turning his body as hard as steel. Withstand Luffy's attack head-on. 3 or 4 breaths passed. The speed of Luffy's fist started to slow down until it came to a complete stop. He was panting, his fingers loosened, and all of them were bruised. The pain spread from the hands to the whole body. The feeling of hitting Su Luo was like hitting a steel plate. How come? Luffy's eyes widened, his eyes full of disbelief. He never thought that the second gear he developed would fail. Still have this feeling. As a rubber man, I should not feel the pain of any blow. Why on Su Luo? Do you feel pain? In fact, it's not just Luffy who has this question. Every member of the Straw Hat Pirate group who was still awake had an incredible look. Isn't Luffy the rubber man who ate rubber fruit? Why? Sanji blinked vigorously, seriously wondering if he had any hallucinations. Otherwise, how to explain the scene in front of you? Even Luffy, who woke up. Nami once again appeared almost desperate. When she saw Luffy wake up, she seemed to see new hope. Because Luffy's most powerful convenience is that no matter how many times he is defeated, he can stand up again and eventually defeat his opponent. But this time, even Luffy stood up again. Even with Luffy in second gear. In front of Su Luo, it was still useless. His attack can't hurt the opponent at all. It must be the anger on that marine. Zoro was dying and sat up from the ground supporting his body with a word of Kazuto. I just fought against Su Luo. Although I couldn't meet the opponent, I felt a strong aura entwining Su Luo's body. Although it is not clear what it is. But he was able to confirm that it was the move that made Su Luo's defensive power infinitely strengthened. And can directly attack Luffy's entities. You said that, it seems that you do. Sanji suddenly realized. However, just when Straw Hat crew still couldn't figure out what moves Su Luo used. A gloomy voice suddenly sounded from behind them. That move is called Armament Haki. It is a type of Haki's ability. It can strengthen itself by winding, hardening, and releasing it. At the same time, those with fruit ability can also be restrained. Don't say it's just Paramecia. As long as Master Armament Haki is the entity of Logia fruit ability, you can also attack directly. And that marine uses 2 kinds of winding and hardening. This sudden sound attracted everyone's attention instantly. Those who have lost their shadows retreat even more, and their eyes are full of fear for this person. Sanji, Zoro, Nami, and Robin, who was now on the Su Luo boat, turned their heads to look at this person. This guy is tall and exaggerated by nearly 7 meters. With hair in the shape of flaming scallions, he looks almost demon in appearance, with long horns on both sides of his forehead. Ears and teeth are also pointed. There are even traces of stitched wounds on the neck. Robin, who knows about Shichibukai, can guess the identity of this guy at a glance. Moonlight Moia. As soon as these words came out, the faces of Nami and Sanji also changed drastically. Very pale. None of them expected that they would meet Shichibukai, one of the 3 major forces on the Grand Line, at this juncture. A person with the same title as Hawkeye. Zoro held his breath even more. The situation in front of us is simply terrible. There is no alliance between pirates and pirates. Like the Hawkeye I encountered before, he often wiped out other pirate groups at sea. In the current situation, it can be said that there are wolves before and tigers behind. Not only that, Moia, who was in front of him, came even more prepared. Behind him, there are all kinds of zombies on the terrifying 3-way sailing ship. And 2 of the 3 weirdos. Hogback. Perona. There is also the swordsman Ryoma zombie made by Moia. It can be said that it is the strongest combat power on the 3 terror sailboat. And the reason why they will be called together. Just for, it can ensure that Su Luo's shadow is foolproof. Only a strong man like him. To be worthy of Oz's body. I didn't expect this guy to practice armament Haki to this level. At this moment, Moia looked excited and stared at Su Luo firmly. In the first half of the Grand Line. Don't talk about the people of Master Armament Haki. There are very few people who know Haki. I have been entrenched in the magic triangle for so many years. There is no one who knows Haki. Seeing Su Luo now, his eyes are absolutely enthusiastic. Do not. It's not just armament Haki. Moia quickly shook his head, denying his thoughts. Even armament Haki is hierarchical. Like Su Luo, someone who can wrap armament Haki around his body easily. Even in the second half of the Grand Line, few people can do it. The strength of this guy is stronger than he imagined. I cannot wait any more. However, Moia was not in a hurry. Because he suddenly discovered the pirate fighting Su Luo. It is also very different. After entering the second gear, his speed, strength, and even the sixth form used by Marine, if you build it well, can definitely enhance the battle of the entire pirate group. Today is really my lucky day. The corners of Moia's mouth raised, and a triumphant smile appeared. At the same time, Su Luo slowly raised his hand, pinched Luffy's neck, and directly pressed it to the ground. Bang! The smoke spread out to the surroundings. Can attack Logia fruit ability directly. When Nami heard this, his eyes were bigger than Bull's eyes, and his chin was about to fall to the ground in surprise. Not long ago, they encountered Logia-capable people on Sky Island. God of Sky Island, Enel. His whole body can turn into thunder and lightning, ignoring all kinds of attacks. If it weren't for Luffy to be a rubber man, he could avoid the damage of lightning. Their party will definitely be destroyed on Sky Island. In other words, Luffy is almost the only natural enemy on the Sea of Enel. Result, Moia behind him even told himself directly. In this world, there are moves that can attack those with Logia fruit ability. Just kidding. Nami was unacceptable for a while, so that his brain went blank. An entity that can directly attack Luffy. Sanji rolled his throat, sucking in a cold breath. If Su Luo can attack Luffy's body casually, then this battle is probably doomed. However, Sanji now has his own doubts in his heart. That is, the appearance of Yugong Moia. Are you going to join forces with this marine? It's not impossible that there is such a possibility. Sanji's eyes narrowed slightly, and he stretched out a trembling hand to wipe a cigarette from his arms. The brain is running fast at this moment. Shichibukai is a pirate recognized by the world government. It is not a fantasy to choose to cooperate with Marine. However, when he looked at that Marine, his eyes were different. In Sanji's view, Moia's eyes are almost like a child who sees his beloved toy. The key is, their Straw Hat pirate group is not a famous pirate. Although Luffy will definitely become One Piece in the future, he now has only 30 million bounty. 30 million bounty. Even the conditions for a supernova cannot be met. In fact, the entire Straw Hat Pirates group could be said to have been single-sidedly beaten by Su Luo. And since this guy is 7 warlords of the sea, whether it is bounty or strength, it should surpass us. Sanji kept analyzing. If Moia wants to cooperate with Marine, there is no need to mobilize so many zombies. Plus the skeleton man I met before. Sanji felt that Moia might have caught the shadow of Su Luo. Although it cannot be confirmed for the time being. But, this kind of conjecture is enough for him to give him a try. Anyway, in the current situation, there is no other way. If you can provoke the conflict between Shichibukai and Marine, maybe you can take the opportunity to escape. For a time, a whole set of plans emerged in Sanji's mind. However, for a small character like Sanji who is completely hurt, Moia didn't take it to heart. He stared at Su Luo intently. Fancy using him to build the strongest zombie. Oz. Hogback was also eager to try. In his lifetime, he has never seen such a powerful marine. However, after Robin discovered Moia and his men, he had an unknown premonition in his heart, Shichibukai. Moia showed up with an army of zombies. To say it was just here to watch the excitement. Robin naturally didn't believe it. And before that, he had been in contact with another Shichibukai. Crocodile, said to be recognized by the world government. But in essence it is still a pirate. And because of its own strength, the power cannot be underestimated. These people often don't put Marine in their eyes. What's more, Su Luo has not yet moved with Marine units. Combine the words of the thin old man before. Robin felt that Moia in front of him was very likely to be in the shadow of Su Luo. The other side, Su Luo grabbed Luffy's facial features and twisted the opponent's face together with a little force. Despite Luffy's desperate struggle, both fists kept hitting Su Luo. But with his current strength, he couldn't shake Su Luo, who was entwining armament Haki at all. Bang! With a loud noise, Luffy was directly rubbed on the ground. You are indeed trickier than I thought, Luffy. I thought one punch was enough to make you faint forever. Unexpectedly, you woke up. Su Luo has a low voice and does not plan to play with Luffy anymore. One hand pressed Luffy to the ground. The other hand stretched out a finger and pointed it at Luffy's chest. Next second, Su Luo slammed his finger directly into Luffy's body. Passed by his heart. However, a majestic force burst into Luffy's body. Because the second gear gains speed and strength by accelerating the blood. The moment Su Luo pulled out his finger, this pressure had a violent impact on the blood. A wound that was only the size of a finger sprayed out a column of blood. Luffy's face turned pale at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. His limbs felt weaker and weaker. There is no strength to stand up at all. Even Luffy's eyelids became heavier. The line of sight in front of him began to blur. The sound of breathing is getting heavier and harder. Even if the second gear is lifted, it still cannot change the status quo. Just let the blood flow slowly. Soon, the aggressive Luffy was crushed by Su Luo. Once again, it went black and lost consciousness. And this scene has a severe impact on Straw Hat crew. You know, Luffy, as the captain, has taken them out of desperation countless times. Seen as hope by them. But this time, Rao is Luffy, and can't solve the powerful opponent in front of him. Not only that, but the amount of bleeding on Luffy's body surpassed any powerful enemy he encountered before. Coupled with the appearance of Moonlight Molia, the breath of despair once again enveloped this land. Nami's eyes were tearing, and her body was trembling. I don't know what to do. She now regrets opening the flow bottle. Zoro gritted his teeth, but could do nothing but curse his weakness. His injury does not seem to be lighter than Luffy. Now let's not talk about fighting again, just keep your consciousness from disappearing. It's already a matter of trying our best. Why, I am so weak. Zoro gritted his teeth, hating himself very much in his heart. Sanji stared at Molia. He was not surprised that Luffy was defeated. The strength of the two sides is really too different. It's not on a horizontal line at all. After completely defeating Luffy, Su Luo also naturally put away armament Haki. However, when he turned to look at the others at Straw Hat crew, he suddenly noticed Leah, Moonlight Mo, carrying all the zombie army, surrounded them. Moonlight Mo Leah. Su Luo frowned slightly, and the situation in front of him was clear at a glance. Mo Leah obviously came prepared. Su Luo turned around and saw Leah Moonlight appearing here in the zombie army he had built for several years. And these zombies are deliberately arranged in various directions. Block all retreats. Anyone can see Mo Leah's intentions. He didn't intend to let anyone hear. Even Straw Hat crew, who was easily defeated by Su Luo. Its strength far exceeds those of Mo Leah's subordinates. If you can get their shadow, the combat power of the Three Terror sailboat will undoubtedly be greatly improved. As for Su Luo, even at this time, it covered the light that belonged to Luffy. Become Mo Leah's mind, the most suitable for the existence of Oz's corpse. In any case, Su Luo just hates all kinds of troubles. It is not without the ability to think. Never mind. Su Luo took a deep breath and glanced at those who lost their shadows and were afraid of Mo Leah's strength. The prerequisite for manipulating the shadows of others is that they need to live. These people know this very well. Their lives are very important to Mo Leah. Therefore, even if they were afraid, they did not turn around and flee. Instead, stay here, wanting to know how to end up in the future. Because they knew that Mo Leah would not kill them directly. Master Marine. Please, Master Marine. The eyes of these people have focused on Su Luo. Think of him as a ray of dawn under the eternal night. He is not only the Marine who represents justice. More powerful. Just fight with Straw Hat crew. Everyone can see how powerful his power is. Maybe, the powerful Su Luo can really make Mo Leah give them back. Even if this is just a hope. A hope that is less than 1 in 10,000 chance. Even when Su Luo noticed them, he could feel this strong emotion in their eyes and expressions. People who obviously only want salted fish. But once again was regarded as hope. Moia, we have, according to your explanation, we have brought this marine here, you can't, just ignore it. However, at this moment, panting Sanji suddenly said something astonishing. He tried his best to shout out these words. Even if there is marine in the front and Shichibukai in the back. The Straw Hat Pirates are in a moment of crisis. He did not give up either. In his opinion, the only key to breaking the game is now. It was to make a big fight between Marine and Shichibukai. He took advantage of the chaos and left with his friends. And from the perspective of Moia and his zombie army lineup. This guy obviously has this meaning. And his words are not a clumsy divorce. Rather, it is a fuse. It detonated the problem between Su Luo and Moia. What did you say? It was Moia. His expression could not help but froze. Unexpectedly, Straw Hat Crew would say such a thing. But at the moment he wanted to explain. The words that were on the lips suddenly stopped. Explain. Explain yourself. Even if Sanji was telling lies. I want to get the shadow of Su Luo to be true. Moreover, I have just used the ability to confirm. Apart from Su Luo, there is no other marine. Enter the magic triangle. In other words, even if you kill Su Luo here, marine won't know. I saw Moia directly waved his hand and grabbed Sanji's shadow. Then I didn't know where to pull out a huge pair of scissors and cut off Sanji's shadow from under his feet. Sanji, who was already weak, couldn't stop it. He didn't even figure out what Moia did to himself. As Sanji's shadow was pinched by Moia in his hand, his eyelids were unable to support them and they immediately closed together. The strong tiredness forced him to fall straight to the ground. Fell asleep. Sanji, Nami on the side was even more startled. His face became even paler. Su Luo alone is enough to make her desperate. At this moment, another Shichibukai Moia appeared. At this moment, Nami only feels that the sky is falling and the ground is sinking. Zoro hates his weakness even more. In the end, neither his swordsmanship nor his companions could protect him. In the face of a powerful enemy, nothing can be done even more. Su Luo's attention shifted from Straw Hat Crew to Moia. It seems that you are not going to explain anything, Moia. Explain. Moia was taken aback when he heard the words. But then, the corners of his mouth rose, and a smile appeared. He looked at Su Luo with interest. Do you think I need to explain to you? Marine. You don't really think that as a Shichibukai, I will be afraid of your marine forces? Moia retorted unceremoniously, even if the title of Shichibukai is of some use to him. But it is not enough to become a running dog of the world government in a low voice. Don't talk about marine like Su Luo. Even Vice Admiral who invited himself to the Shichibukai meeting. He also said that if you don't give face, you won't give face. Most importantly, he salivates over Su Luo's shadow. In any case, get it. I saw Moia make a gesture. All the zombies are ready. Aiming at Su Luo. For a while, the atmosphere in the air became tense. Robin also realized that there will be a battle between Su Luo and Moia. In the Magic Triangle, a large number of ships disappear every year. It seems that all of this should have something to do with you, Moia. Upon seeing this, Robin simply questioned Moia on the spot. No, it should be said, you are the one behind all this. Although Robin had always been a pirate before meeting Su Luo. But for those who have lost their shadows and can only live in darkness all day long, she has sympathy. What's more, it seems that Moia intends to keep them here. Simply broke the boat. Question Molia's crime. Moia. On the other side, Su Luo also spoke slowly. I will give you a chance now. As long as you return all the civilian shadows you have collected so far. I can be as if nothing happened. As for the shadows of the pirates, Su Luo didn't think it mattered. No matter how magnificent the era of the great pirates said. Nor can it change the existence of pirates who exist in order to plunder other people's wealth. Let the pirates return to the sea. It will only cause harm to more people. And there is Moia guarding the Magic Triangle. It can also eliminate many pirates who go to sea every year. In addition, the world government has always valued Shichibukai. Treat them as facial issues. If Moia is eliminated by itself, the world government will definitely launch various investigations. Just think about the follow-up processing problems. Su Luo found it troublesome. It would be better for both sides to take a step back. However, Moia sneered at Su Luo's proposal. Let yourself return all the shadows accumulated over the years. Why? Su Luo is marine. This guy really thinks that as long as he is a marine, he can talk to Shichibukai. You know, these pirates are able to become Shichibukai. Not because of the mercy of the world government, but by virtue of strong strength. Let the world government dare not attack them easily. Except for the Lone Ranger Haki. Any Shichibukai has an extremely large power and strong strength. Even Vice Admiral of Naval Headquarters is nothing but weak in his own eyes. Ha ha ha. Even after hearing Su Luo's speech, Moia couldn't help laughing. It just defeated the small pirates group that didn't enter the stream. Think you have the same power as Shichibukai? Overweight. I've seen a lot of guys like you in New World, but in the end they were all without exception. Because of arrogance, and paid a painful price. Moia made a sound, and at the same time ordered his army of zombies to attack Su Luo. Prepare to weaken his physical skills first. Then by his own ability, seize his shadow. Used to build the strongest zombie ever. Oz, careful. Upon seeing this, Robin quickly reminded Su Luo. There are thousands of zombies gathered here. It's not so easy to deal with. However, as soon as he said this, Robin realized that his worries were unnecessary. With Su Luo's strength, how can such a zombie be able to deal with it? Even if they were more numerous, it would only be a gift. Su Luo didn't even take a look at these zombies. He stared at Moia, and shook his head regretfully. Obviously, just do what you say. You can keep the well water from the river water. The shadows of those civilians are not strong in themselves. Even if 100 shadows are stuffed into a corpse, it can't create much powerful product. Even if the shadow is returned, Moia's combat power will not be lost. Wrong. The problem is not the shadow of those civilians, but my shadow. Su Luo suddenly realized. Yes, Moia couldn't look at the shadows of those civilians at all. He really wanted to get the shadow that he didn't want to give up. Its own. In other words, when you appear in the magic triangle and show great strength. It gave Moia enough reasons. I shot myself as Marine. This battle, this trouble, inevitable. That's why I hate fighting. Once it starts, it will go on forever. Su Luo couldn't help but vomit, and simply released Conqueror's Haki. For a time, a hemispherical aura centered on Su Luo, shrouded towards the surroundings. Immediately afterwards, this aura quickly compressed. Back to Su Luo's body. Next second, a terrifying air current swept in all directions. It's different from Conqueror's Haki, who is just stunned. The Conquerors released by Su Luo at this time was black in color, and in the airflow, there was a terrifying lightning. Can produce majestic physical power. The scariest thing is that Su Luo is not awakening. It's a complete master. He can easily use this momentum to lock the target. All zombies attempting to approach Su Luo are without exception. All were swept by this terrifying and powerful Conqueror's Haki. The slightly weaker zombies fell apart directly. The powerful zombies will also be lifted out on the spot by this air current. In an instant, Su Luo's Haki overwhelmed the sky, crushing the entire terrifying three-way sailing ship. Every inch of the corner, without exception. The whole earth kept trembling and shaking. The walls of the buildings began to crack. Things like tombstones were crushed on the spot. Huge rifts appeared one after another on the three horror sailing ships. Dr. Hobakuk, who was standing next to Yugong Moia, couldn't bear such a huge pressure. Suddenly I felt pitch black in front of my eyes. Both eyes turned white directly. Before he even hummed, he fell straight back. Perona floating in midair was even more dumbfounded on the spot. She never thought that someone could cause such an astonishing destruction just by virtue of her aura. Do not. This guy is no longer human. Can do this level of things. This guy in front of him is clearly a monster. Perona is always calm and steady. An expression of horror appeared uncontrollably. The magic triangle. Here comes a big guy they can't afford to provoke. This aura. What's going on? Robin's face changed drastically. She didn't know that Su Luo was strong. It's just completely unexpected. Su Luo's strength has no lower limit. How many whole cards are hidden in his body? Fencing. Physique. Now Haki appeared again. Where is this man sacred? As for Straw Hat Crew, people who still remain sober. Such as Nami, Zoro. It was dumbfounded on the spot. Especially Nami, she can't wait to pass out directly now. I don't want to be shocked anymore. Compared with Su Luo. She even thinks of the Enel that she met on Sky Island before. I'm afraid it's not even a fart. It is not worthy of being compared with Su Luo. The strength of this guy. Zoro's eyes widened, and he seriously doubted whether he had any hallucinations. Own, are you really awake? Why would anyone have such a terrifying power? At this moment, Zoro's perception of power completely collapsed. Actually, don't talk about these people. Even as 7 warlords of the sea. To Su Luo, the shadow is bound to win the Moonlight Moia. It was also completely dumbfounded at this time. As a pirate who has broken through in New World, the level of understanding of Haki far exceeds that of everyone present. Only one Conqueror's Haki will be born out of 1,000,000 people. Moia rolled his throat and swallowed nervously. Moreover, it's not awakening yet. It's a complete master. Moia was dumbfounded. Awakening and master, although both release Conqueror's Haki. But it's a little different. For the former, you can only use Conqueror's Haki when you are extremely angry or in a crisis. The latter is to practice Conqueror's Haki and turn it into his own ability. Used in actual combat, and those who can do this, even among the owners of Conqueror's Haki. It is also rare in existence. It's not something that can be done by practicing hard. How did Naval Headquarters cultivate such a monster? In Moia's mind, he remembered the nightmare once again. Involuntarily compare with the marine in front of you. This Conqueror's Haki can hardly lose the monster Kaido. In an instant, Conqueror's Haki washed the floor. Kill Moia's entire army of zombies in seconds. Moia was even more dumbfounded on the spot. Both eyes widened, and he seriously doubted whether he had any hallucinations. Bah, Conqueror's Haki. Moia rolled his throat, swallowing nervously. Even in the second half of the Grand Line, Su Luo's Conqueror's Haki is quite advanced. Even in his opinion, this level of Conqueror's Haki. It's not inferior to Kaido of the year. Even the current Su Luo can't compete with monsters like Kaido, but in time. His combat power surpasses Kaido, it is not a fantasy. Too frightening. In the magic triangle, a monster came. For a while, Moia's heart couldn't help becoming a little tangled. If you can get the shadow of Su Luo, stuff it into Oz's body. Not only can he create the most powerful zombie ever. Maybe, you can take revenge on the monster Kaido. On the other hand, Su Luo, who possesses such a powerful strength, is also a monster in his cognition. If it is the early self, facing a strong man like Su Luo, he will be eager to try. Want to compete with Su Luo. But since losing to Kaido, Moia's spirit has decreased a lot. For so many years, there is a lack of physical exercise. Especially after seeing Su Luo's Haki. Moia's heart couldn't help retreating a little. It wasn't during a crisis that Conqueror's Haki was awakened. It's like breathing, using Conqueror's Haki freely. And depending on his age, he is also very young. Maybe it is a secret weapon cultivated by Naval Headquarters. Moia couldn't help making many guesses about Su Luo. Do not. But soon, Moia shook his head. Su Luo's expressiveness really opened his eyes. Even to the point of a bit of fear. But, it is precisely because of this that I saw many possibilities in him. The strongest shadow, and the strongest zombie. If you can get his shadow, the combat effectiveness of the entire terrifying three-way sailing ship will be greatly improved. Re-enter New World. Revenge Kaido. It is not impossible. Grunt. Thinking of this, Moia swallowed again. Although the risk is extremely high. But the benefits are also extremely high. Rao is Moia at this time, wanting to refuse such temptation. It is also very difficult. The strongest shadow. In fact, Moia's ability is not just to steal the shadow of others. Cut the shadow from the original owner and stuff it into the zombie body. This allows the zombies to obtain a part of the original owner's memory, as well as powerful moves. This also means, those abilities in Su Luo. Moia can snatch it together. In the end, Moia's greedy heart still failed to convince himself to give up. Let Su Luo leave. After a psychological struggle, Moia decisively chose to shoot. Flying bats. In an instant, the shadow at Moia's feet split quickly, transforming into a large number of shadow bats, and swept over Su Luo. At the same time, Perona, who didn't faint, and Longma zombie shot at the same time. One created a negative ghost and went straight to Su Luo. Once the negative ghost passes through the body, the enemy's emotions will also become negative. Lost the desire to fight. The dragon horse zombies are eager to try. In any case, Wanokuni is a famous samurai in front of him. Even if he is dead, he has a very persistent pursuit of swordsmanship. However, in the face of the three-person attack, Su Luo disappeared in a flash. Negative ghost, Ryoma's slash, and Molia's shadow bat colony. All are empty. Then Su Luo performed observation Haki. Instantly covered the entire terrifying three-way sailing ship. It easily locked Perona's real body. Most of the time, Perona will use the power of its soul fruit to make the soul out of its body. It can not only do things like wall penetration and flying. In her soul state, she can even be immune to all physical attacks. Su Luo's Conqueror's Haki didn't kill Perona directly, and it was precisely because of this. After her body went out of its body, it automatically fell into a coma. Naturally, he won't be stunned by Haki again. In that case, just attack the body. Su Luo's eyes narrowed slightly, and temporarily set aside Molia and the swordsman Ryoma. He aimed his right foot at a stone in front of him and kicked it hard. Bang! With a muffled noise, the stone flew out quickly. Go straight to Molia's castle. Unstoppable. Molia, Perona, and Ryoma. One after another stunned. Because of the direction Su Luo attacked, there was no one at all. And, the stones kicked by him are not plain flying. Instead, go straight to the sky. Wait a moment. Seeing the stone galloping towards the castle, Perona's eyes suddenly stared like bull's eyes. The chin was about to fall to the ground in shock. At this moment, she seemed to have reacted. That direction of the castle. If I remember correctly, isn't it? Do you hide where you really are? Open, are you kidding me? For a moment, a trace of fear appeared in Perona's eyes. In any case, the castle is thousands of meters away from where they are. How did he judge his true position? It's unbelievable, unbelievable. Oops. The brain paused for a second before Perona fully reacted. The body flew past, chased after the stone. I want to get back into my body quickly and avoid Su Luo's attack. But who knows, when Perona chased it out, I found out. The pebble kicked by Su Luo at random is extremely fast. Even if he was in a ghost state, he couldn't catch up at all. That's too late. This guy, in the end. What kind of monster? Perona's heart was completely horrified, and her tone of self-talk was full of tremors. Just when she returned to the castle, the stone kicked by Su Luo hit the castle wall impartially. Rumble. There was another loud noise, and the wall that was hit suddenly fell apart. The rock rolled out, breaking a large hole nearly several meters in diameter. The room where Perona was hidden was exposed to her sight. And the stone did not stop at all. Continued to move forward and break open the wall of the room on the spot. Finally through Perona's chest. Bang! I saw that Perona's body was directly penetrated through a blood hole. Blood spewed from it, spilling on the entire bed sheet. Perona also felt severe pain. Ah! The screams resounded through the entire terrifying three-way sailing ship. Perona. Molia walked around and saw the ruined castle. The brain just feels blank for a time. He didn't expect to die, and it took less than half a minute. Perona was instantly killed by Su Luo. You know, although she is not a strong person, she is a capable person who has eaten the fruit of the ghost. The self-protection ability can be described as full. Even armament Haki, it is impossible to harm Perona. Unless directly attacking her body. But her body has always been hidden in the deepest part of the castle. It is impossible for ordinary people to understand Perona's abilities. It is also difficult to find out where she really is. Observation Haki. Molia couldn't help taking a breath, and soon thought of the sights and sounds in Conqueror's Haki. It can make the five senses become keen, and observe the breath and emotion of the surrounding creatures. Although it can't directly attack the opponent, it is a very easy to use combat technique. Use Conquerors and armed colors freely. It is not surprising that Su Luo can use observation Haki today. But even so, Molia was taken aback. Your castle is at least a kilometer away from here. Do not. Molia's face suddenly became paler. He turned his head and looked at Su Luo. I couldn't help thinking of a certain possibility in my mind. Maybe, Su Luo's observation Haki not only perceives everything in his castle, but the whole terrifying three-way sailing ship. Even the entire magic triangle. All under the perception of Su Luo's observation Haki. But is this kind of thing really possible? Cheat, deceive, how terrifying is this guy's strength? Molia gritted his teeth. There was a panic in my heart. A trace of fear. He even regretted it a little. Recklessly shot Su Luo. This guy in front of me is a monster who is not inferior to Kaido. Absolute. Grunt. Molia swallowed. For a while, I was a little overwhelmed. On the contrary, it is the swordsman Ryoma. They are much calmer than Molia. More powerful than I thought. It's a pity that I didn't meet you when I was alive. Long Ma looked at Su Luo again, regretful in his tone of voice. Although Molia stuffed Brook's shadow into his body, it made him live again. But the current self strength is not in peak state. Even 1/10 may not be achieved. But in this situation, I met Su Luo, a strong man who is rare in a century. For those who have martial arts obsession, this is undoubtedly the biggest regret. Swordsman Ryoma. Su Luo's sight also focused on Longma. Seeing him put on an offensive posture. Please let me know your swordsmanship. Ryoma made a low voice, not anxious to make a move. The tone is even more pleading. He knows that his current strength is far less powerful than Su Luo. But even so, he still wants to learn about Su Luo's swordsmanship. Looking at the serious dragon horse, Su Luo nodded slightly. Temporarily put Yugong Molia again. The 5 fingers grabbed Zanpakuto's hilt again. The atmosphere between the two sides has become even more tense. On the side, Zoro, who was seriously injured, was even more focused, staring at every move between Su Luo and Ryoma. How strong Su Luo's swordsmanship is, he not only witnessed it with his own eyes, but also experienced it personally. As for Ryoma, he was a legend he had heard of when he was a child. The name of a swordsman. Not even losing to Hawkeye Mihawk. The swordsmanship collision between them. Zoro couldn't help but look forward to it. Especially the samurai sword in Ryoma's hand. It also reveals a deep buffoon. Black knife autumn water. Soon, Longma chose a fast break. He kicked his feet hard, and the whole person, like a straight flying arrow, went straight to Su Luo. Pulling out the black knife Chushui with both hands, he used his strongest slash. Even the ground that Ryoma left, because he couldn't bear his explosive power, suddenly fell apart, leaving a spider web-like crack. And his swordsmanship is even more like a round of crescent moon, sweeping towards Su Luo. The chill is pressing. Wano Kuni's first swordsman. Su Luo's eyes narrowed slightly, and his lazy personality took a little serious at this moment. Although he doesn't like fighting, he can feel a strong emotion from Ryoma. Even if it has been dead for decades. His pursuit of swordsmanship has never slackened. For some reason, Su Luo wanted to respond to this emotion. In an instant, he pulled out Zanpakuto from his waist and slashed it down. Surroundings, everything is ashes. Ryujin Jaka. With Zanpakuto in hand, he was liberated. The appearance of the blade has changed slightly. Not only that, but a hot flame burst out from the blade. A heat wave swept in all directions. Rao is Yugong Molia this Shichibukai. It was also dumbfounded at once. Although Su Luo liberated Zanpakuto's Shikai once before, he also felt the difference in this weapon. But the personal experience at such a close distance. It feels completely different. From this rush of heat, he could feel an indescribable sense of horror. This guy in front of me. Not only has the top Conqueror's Haki, armament Haki, observation Haki. Rao is swordsmanship, and it can be called domineering. Such a person is just an ordinary marine. Really? Why, there is such a monster. Molia clenched his fists, his scalp felt a little numb. The magic triangle. Here comes a marine that he can't afford to provoke. His strength is above himself. Su Luo and Ryoma's weapons collided strongly. A horrible and lightning-bearing air current burst out, sweeping in all directions. Wherever he went, the earth broke directly. What a strong sword cut. Swordsman Ryoma was even more stunned. He never dreamed that someone could be able to master such amazing swordsmanship. Especially Su Luo's katana is also very different. The heat generated made him feel as if his body was standing on the surface of the sun. The pressure felt is even more like a big mountain rolled over. Even Yan Mo and Yuzan. It is also far inferior to the blade in Su Luo's hand. Although I don't want to admit it, even in his peak state, it would never be Su Luo's opponent. Sure enough, this sea is huge. Ryoma couldn't help but think of what he was called Wanokuni's first samurai. Compared with Su Luo, it is simply not worth mentioning. Just as the swordsman Ryoma thought so, his body burned on the spot because he couldn't bear the high temperature of Ryujin Jaka. The crimson flame instantly spread to Ryoma's body. Burning flames. I lost. Feeling his whole body burned by flames, Ryoma also recognized the swordsmanship gap between him and Su Luo at this moment. From the very beginning, Ryoma didn't feel that he could defeat Su Luo in the field of swordsmanship. The scene in front of me is just a verification of this idea. But, although Longmo was defeated by Su Luo, he did not show any regrets. On the contrary, Ryoma's heart was relieved like never before. He was already dead, a powerful swordsman like Su Luo. He had no chance to meet. But now, thanks to Molia's ability, let him accomplish what he couldn't do before. There really is a higher mountain in this world. Marine, even though I don't know your name. However, thanks to you, I have seen a higher level of swordsmanship. The corners of Ryoma's mouth rose, and a smile appeared. He looked at the black knife Chushui in his hand. Then he threw it hard. Directly follow yourself for many years. It is also the samurai sword of Wanokuni. It was given to Su Luo. Maybe, the blade of this katana is not as good as Ryujin Jaka. But it is also quite a black knife. In Su Luo's hands, it will definitely be a step up. The key is, the sword as a murder weapon. Swordsmanship is nothing but a trick to kill. Instead of letting the black sword Chushui be enshrined in the temple, Ryoma hopes to see that this weapon is driven by people who fit it. As for his final destiny, Ryoma readily accepted. With a contented expression on his face, he stood there, letting the flames burn his body to death. In the end, nothing was left. Patter. Su Luo took the black knife Chushui. Hold it in your hand. Next second, he reseals Ryujin Jaka. Heat waves of high temperatures, and flames spreading everywhere, all in an instant, flew back to the scabbard on Su Luo's waist. And Ryujin Jaka, who was restored to a sealed state, was also inserted by him. Actually, with the strength of the zombie dragon horse, Su Luo does not need to use Shikai's power at all. With any katana, he can easily win. The reason why he chose to liberate the power of Zanpakuto was just to respond to Ryoma's expectations. As for why this is so, even Su Luo couldn't say anything in his heart. It can only be said to be an inexplicable idea. Use the power of Ryujin Jaka to deal with Leah. He didn't deserve to face the anger of this weapon at all. Su Luo didn't even look at Molia deliberately after the swordsman Ryoma was eliminated. He stood in place and raised the black knife Chushui. Black sword Chushui. For this weapon, anyone who has watched One Piece will not be unfamiliar. Although in the later plot, Su Luo replaced the more expressive Yan Mo with this weapon. But Chu Shui is also ranked 21 with Dakue Dao. Combined with the Eagle Eye Mihawk said, any weapon can be refined into a real black knife. If Chu Shui is well built, it is not difficult to rank among the strongest black knives. Maybe, Heidao Chushui was already among the strongest under Longma's refining. Su Luo muttered to himself. However, since Ryoma chose to give it to me, then I have to accept it. Thinking of this, Su Luo glanced at Zoro subconsciously. In Zoro's eyes, in addition to the shock of Su Luo's powerful swordsmanship, there was also a trace of desire. Unexpectedly, Ryoma was killed in a second. Zoro's eyes widened, and his jaw was about to fall to the ground in surprise. In any case, he had heard of the name of the sword hero Ryoma. And, the swordsmanship that Ryoma had just used was indeed extremely powerful. If really fight it up, even if he can win, it will never be as easy as a spike. And, for the swordsman, the katana is their second life. Even Su Luo is no exception. According to the development of the original plot, when he saw the zombie dragon horse, he made up his mind and wanted to take the Black Sword Autumn Water. Now I see Chushui fall into Suo Luo's hands. I was also quite jealous. However, he also knew in his heart, how terrible is Suo Luo's swordsmanship. Don't say that you are not his opponent. It's the entire Straw Hat Pirates group, working together. There is absolutely no possibility. In front of him, Marine, who seemed to be about his age. The real monster. Too frightening. Nami sat on the ground even more, his brain blank and his scalp numb. She didn't even think that things would develop to this point. This is all over. Luffy, you are about to wake up. Nami let out a final cry in his heart, and focused on Luffy, who had passed out. But Luffy was hurt this time, let alone waking up. Whether he can survive the crisis of life or death is hard to say. Despair. Unprecedented despair came to the Magic Triangle in an instant. It's not just Nami and others who are desperate. Rao is Moia, Shichibukai, and his heart is somewhat desperate at this time. When he first saw Suo Luo, he was excited and excited. Because so many years passed, I finally found the right shadow of Oz. Even at this time, Moia was very determined and convinced. Suo Luo. The shadow of this monster is undoubtedly the most suitable for Oz. Once I get his shadow, the fighting power of those zombies that have been defeated can be made up in an instant. Even, far more than the. However, Suo Luo's power is far beyond Moia's ideas. In his mind, he couldn't help but recall the battle with Kaido in Wano-kuni. At that time, he still believed in his own power. Still trusting companions. As a result, all of this was accompanied by the battle with Kaido. Was completely crushed. The strength of that guy is like an invincible monster. It left a serious psychological shadow on Moia. So much so for so many years. He is just entrenched in the Magic Triangle. Dare to enter the new world. Physical exercise is even more wasteful. Monster. In his eyes, Suo Luo's current strength is not inferior to Kaido back then. Even the zombie dragon horse was easily killed in seconds by this marine. Moia rolled his throat and swallowed nervously. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would not believe it at all. This will be true. You know, in order to steal Ryoma's body, he spent a lot of effort. Almost died in Wano-kuni. It is no exaggeration to say that the zombie dragon horse has a place in Moia's heart. And the strength of strength, second only to Oz, said he was a trump card in his hand. Not too much. Who knows, this is such a trump card, the whole card. In minutes, it was wiped out by Suo Luo. Not even the ashes are left. This is the real horror. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.